Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Coast Davengers, a Friday night special event of It Came from the Newsstand. I'm Dave, and with me, as always, is Manu.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Um, it's been a week, man. It's been a wild week.
Hasn't
It's
it?
been a wild 10 days, actually.
What's
Mm,
this 10 days been, Dave?
oh my God. Okay, so I'm going to just get everybody very quickly up to speed, just in case for some reason you do not know what's going on. The day was last Saturday, the Saturday before. Manu discovers that there's a guy who's walking around selling these really expensive slabs. He calls me. We get some photos. We find out that this poor excuse for a human being has swapped out an ASM 252 Mark Jewelers with a high grade ASM. Anyway, Slabgate starts, and it turns into the fact that we're now uncovering, along with the help of a lot of people on the CGC boards, that
Yeah.
this guy been swapping books out of slabs and basically fabricating 9/8 on the rarest of the rare books and certain other tactics using to create slabs, and he's been selling them for 10 years or more. But the stuff that we noticed was all offered in the last 6 months, and so we've got a lot of help from the CGC boards. Hulk 181s get discovered as going from green labels to blue labels, which is magic because a green label means it's missing something and a blue label means it's not. So all of this to say, yesterday CGC finally released a statement saying, among other things, that they are investigating it. They will be offering to make people compensatedly whole that own these slabs, and that a couple of other bullet points that I don't remember off the top of my head. But there you go. You're talking about possibly 1,000 slabs or more, maybe in the
Possibly.
hundreds. Yeah, we
Possibly.
don't know. The full extent of this has not been felt. But anyway, I just wanted to catch people up to speed. I will say hello to everybody, but Manu, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I do want to say hello to everybody and thank you everyone for being here. Another thing that I want to add is I don't think it's unreasonable to assume, and I kind of feel like it's certain, but I'd rather say I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that CGC is watching this.
Mhm.
And whether they're Swaggle, what up? We'll say hi to everybody. But Swaggle Haas, hello, man, and thank you for everything.
Swag.
And whether they're watching it live, which they may be, or whether they're watching it on a replay, I don't think that means we bite our tongue. I think that means we appreciate the fact that this is an outlet for us to speak directly to them. The information that we are sharing, the things that we are saying, the opinions that we have, the concerns that we have are being heard. And I think we should just use this as our time, our moment, or going forward, just realizing that our voice does get heard and does matter, and we shouldn't silence it. And I have had requests to be silenced. I've been asked by people that I have, some respect for, that I should maybe consider not doing what I'm doing. And well, you know what side of that I'm on, my friends, and I know I'm on the right side of it. Neo, what's going on? Let's say hello to everybody. Ryan McKenna, what's going on?
Jason,
Forceman
what's
Collectibles.
up? Jason Woods
Jason
in the
Woods,
house.
what's
Uh,
going on, my man?
and I do want to say I have not been asked to be silent. On the contrary, I was contacted by Matt Nelson, and I was thanked for both of us for being part of this and cracking this case wide open. And honestly, like, regardless of how our feelings are towards CGC, I think this was a blindside. You know,
It's
I
a
don't
it's a
I
possibility.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
Um,
possibility, and I think it's really great that he, sent such a kind message. And that's kind of the reason I said it's reasonable to assume that this stream is being viewed right now, or at least is going to be engaged with afterwards, right? So we should take advantage of that very much. And should that relationship blossom into something else, we'll welcome it. Um, but we are going to be honest with where we stand and what we might need to hear about, and things
and
like that.
and what we expect.
Ah,
I mean,
yes, what we
this
expect.
and obviously we all know expectations lead to disappointment, but in this case, this is expecting just more security in general, like the word security and
Yeah.
guarantee. Those words need to come into play with actions.
Yeah, and you know what? I think right at the top, Actually, while you're cycling through like comments, if there's something for us to address, we can certainly address them as they come in. It's really important if you have a good opinion or a good question, a hard-hitting question. I do want to see it. Share it twice if we miss it. Let's reflect on certain thoughts that we're having, and let's see if we can't cook up some answers. But
I do want to jump into one that Armando asked if
please.
the slabs have been deactivated yet. As far as we know, no, not at all. But I think you can't deactivate the certification numbers until they have them. That because otherwise, how are you supposed to know what? If you put your cert number in as like, is this one of them? And then you have a picture and whatever it is. But once they're received, I'm assuming that is like the first order of business would be to literally remove that book from the registry in every way, shape, or form. But they have to have the books that were associated with them first.
I mean, I think that's a fair assumption. I don't necessarily know that that's. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, that way no one can be made victim of handing that slab off unknowingly.
Mhm.
But, one of the reasons to expose this and do, what we're doing is to create a more sophisticated collector as well as a more sophisticated third party grading system, right? And collectors should know that resources that allow you to check the cert number, they're there for a reason. They should be
Yeah,
used, right? So whether a book has been deactivated and it's not in the presence of CGC should not serve as an excuse to not have checked that cert number and realize that for yourself. You're spending
sure.
money, do the due diligence. And I think that's really important. Um, what does Neo say here? Neo said this stuff
Okay.
is going to. Oh, sorry.
Neo said, yeah, this stuff is going to take time to play out. People don't want to hear that, but we are going to need to be patient. And we talked on the phone today, and I said that we are dealing with a corporation, a company that is dealing with this. Things will take time because you want them to do their due diligence in figuring this out.
Yeah, we as independents, we have the ability and the freedom to move quickly,
Mhm.
to share whatever information we choose to. We don't have certain like legal protocol that we have to adhere to. We don't have shareholders that we have to appease. And a company that big has to move a little slower, a
Mm.
little bit more careful. They have a lot of layers that they have to go through before they make something, available to the public. But on that note, where Neo
Mhm.
says this stuff is going to take time to play out, people don't want to hear that. There's also other things that people don't want to hear,
Mhm.
and the things that I'm about to say are my opinions only. And I do want to get something out of the way really quickly. I took it upon myself to chop up and share a reel that shows how a slab can be hel- immaculate. That was perfectly timed. Immaculate. I'm talking about you right now, so I'll just carry on. I chopped up a reel that shows very cleverly and clearly how to compromise a slab in a way that is somewhat indetectable. And it's unfortunate that it's so easy to do that. And there were and Immaculate Comics is the gentleman that made the video. That video in its full entirety is available on their page. Of course, you could see it on my page and find their page through that. But the reason I bring this up is overwhelmingly the response was of wow, of shock, understandably. And that's part of the purpose of showcasing that video. And for a reason, though, not just for the shock value of it. And I'll get into the reason in a moment. And then everyone was supportive of it, very happy that that information was out because there's a greater purpose to releasing that information. Now, very, very, very few people opposed it, meaning they asked me in a respectful way, like, why did you think that was a good idea? Well, first, I want to say that I recognized it to be a good idea when I saw the video. I didn't make the video. The video was already moving very quickly through the YouTube universe. By the time I had seen it, it had several thousands of views on it. Now, as a reel, it travels a bit different, and the reel did go viral. And I don't mean viral like a TikTok dance where hundreds of millions of people see it. I mean viral in our community. Tens of thousands of people have seen and engaged, and thousands have shared. Now, I understand the concerns of the people that say, well, you just showed scammers how to scam. Duh, right? That's not a thought that didn't occur to me, but there's a more important purpose here. Without having that level of awareness, without having the community alerted, without having the concern be so real and so significant, there wouldn't be any change. Let's not be naive here. There have been several situations in the past where fraudulent cases, tampered with cases, this messed up sort of situation has been presented privately to CGC, and it gets resolved privately, maybe just one-on-one, and then no one's the wiser because we don't want to scare everybody. But that encourages complacency. That actually excuses certain flaws in the system. That makes it so that everything gets swept under the rug, and then we could just carry on as normal. Now I understand which sort of individuals would want to keep this quiet. Perhaps individuals that have a large inventory of slabs. They're concerned about their value. They're concerned about the integrity of their business. I get it, and I feel for them. But unfortunately, part of the thing that we have to understand here is we've given too much power to one individual company. We have
Yes.
whole businesses completely tied up with slabs, with plastic with numbers on them, right? And if that gets compromised, that business gets compromised. Well, a lot of people are going to learn a unfortunate lesson here. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Don't become so, what's the word? Not vulnerable to a company, but don't become such a dependent.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say subservient.
Don't be so dependent on one organization that they themselves can fail. And if they fail, you fail with them. Well, that's not fantastic. And that's not the most intelligent way to go about, determining what your destiny in that business or future in that business might be. So I wanted to say, I understand that. That's an obvious thing. You don't have to be an intellectual to understand. More people just
Yeah.
learned how to do it. That's the point. It had to be showcased that it is so easy to do and that it is potentially so widespread that we demand a new CGC case. Now, that might be, take a long time to happen, a lot of money, a lot of thought has to go into it, but they've got the capital to do it. It's their job to do it. We can't turn a blind eye to it and pretend everything's okay. It's not. Large dealers are going to be frustrated by this. The reholder process is going to be disrupted by this. We're all going to be inconvenienced, but it's better than being robbed. And that's my stance on it.
Sure. I 100% going to back that. And I want to, there's a lot of things in here that are worth addressing, but I do want to
Please, I'm
just,
sorry. Yes.
I do want to jump on to Adam Lada's comment. CGC is cooked, in my opinion, unless they recert every single book they've graded, which is not going to happen. I see where you're coming from. And I think there definitely needs to be a bunch of people that have microphones that say, this does not affect every book. I mean, I would go out on a limb and say anything under $500 in value, it's not, there's a lot of people saying the sky is falling. This affects every book. Is my book, is my book, is my book. This guy was targeting specific buyers with specific books. Now, obviously, there could be other people that did this, but I don't know anything about that. I have no experience with that. I have experience with what me and Manu found. This guy was targeting somebody like Manu, somebody that looks for the highest grade of the rarest book in a certain age. Now, we know he jumped into Hulk 181. I can say this, that I don't know that he successfully scammed it, but me and Manu know that he was fucking around with TMNT1 first print. Because I know he was trying to sell one, but I was never able to substantiate he had another one to swap with. Justin's in the house. But I think it's a little bit easy to just kind of like, look, the last 15, 20 years of books that got graded, these newer variants, this is not the problem. $70 books are not the problem. Nobody should be getting that stuff graded, in my opinion, anyway. But that's besides the point. Yeah.
Another day.
And I don't know if it was you, me, or Swag that said it, but maybe they should have a designated part of the company that just deals with modern 2000 and forward, because it's a different ball game. Like, most of those books are not worth money. People are just getting them graded to get graded, whatever their reasons are. I don't care. But this is older books. This is books with the Mark Jeweler variant. So Reef also asked Jason, our friend Jason Woods, he currently owns 2 of the slabs. We were in communication the day after this happened. So, I hope that everybody gets made right by this. Ryan, I can't answer that. I hope the answer is yes. No, I can't answer this. I haven't seen a goddamn thing yet. And
Ryan, feel free to message me directly. There's some things that I can share with you in private, but yeah.
Well, I want to say this on a public stage. Grails and Elite both need to step up and say, we are looking into this along with CGC. They are culpable by the fact that they sold or may have sold some of these books. And they need to make sure that the people that know.
Well,
None of this bullshit. Hold on. None
yeah,
of this
please.
private message bullshit. And it's not you. I'm not talking. I'm
No,
saying
I hear you. Please.
they need to come out and say, we are going to look into it with CGC. We are the two biggest sellers of slabs on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's that.
And out of respect for what you said, because I do agree, I will say that Ali, the owner at
Mhm.
Elite, has spoken to me, and he did let me know that they did do a deep dive into their records to confirm that they haven't dealt with this individual. Now, that's what I have from him. Did they go deeper after that? Perhaps, because the situation did become more alarming after that. But I should present, to you, Ryan McKenna, for asking the question. I did speak to Ali. Ali was concerned about the situation. They did look into, who they've had dealings with. And what I was told was they have no books. They're not representing any books of this individual, and they haven't as far back as they looked. And they are not going to be doing any business with him, either receiving or selling him books of that sort. So that's what I have from Ali. And we can build upon that with what both of those institutions or consignment pages provide for us going forward.
And to build upon that, Jason said that Grails reached out to him personally, and that's great. That's great.
Really good to
But
hear.
we need to see this in a public forum because you know what? Optics are everything. Optics are 100% everything. Look, whatever CGC decides to put behind their statement with actions, regardless of that, the optics of coming out and saying what they said at least shows us they are trying to show us that they're going in the right direction. But actions are always going to speak louder than words. So, look, I'll give this an open forum to any big seller, Grails, Elite, CGC, anybody that wants to come on my show and talk about this and be transparent. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm doing this tonight. And Manu will happily join me unless he tells me to fuck off.
I don't think I'm going to do that. Well, there are certain situations where I might do that, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. Yeah, Justin's in the building, but
Justin.
And another shout out to Neo, another shout out to Swaggle Haas. Like, I just feel I feel so much closer to them after this whole situation. I really like that.
And I'd like to just personally say a thank you to everybody, period. Everybody that was helpful on the CGC forum, but Comic Wiz, my dude, we talked a bunch of times about this stuff. He has been the sergeant of information finding. Agamotto, Beyonder, Sledgehammer, Christoph, Comics, Mephistocle, whatever, and Absolute Carnage and B. Smith. And, all these dudes were super helpful in the forums, and they really helped kind of put this into a very easy to understand A to B to C to D to, connecting all of these crazy dots on these books. Because at this point, we know it's going to be a lot more books than we already know, but they've connected the dots on a lot of that stuff.
Shout out to all those members of the forums. I wish I knew them personally. I'm not in the forum myself, so I definitely appreciate the shout outs for them. And also, we're going to shout out people all night long because so many people have been so kind, so encouraging and supportive. And I watched Keep It Thorough's stream last night, and it was super passionate stream, guys. Super passionate, thought-provoking, well-articulated stream. And he also showed a lot of love, and I really appreciate that. So big shout out to Keep It Thorough. I know his position on this. I know his stance on this. And I know it's also easy right now for a lot of people. I agree with a lot of things that a lot of people are saying. What I don't agree with is just like when people say something with certainty and sometimes it's incredibly foolish, right? Or, there's no IQ test before someone gets to turn the camera or the mic on, right? There's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people can't even read correctly. And then what they thought that they understood is what they, regurgitate, and it's just wrong. And that's a little frustrating, but, we'll do our best to keep things clean and clear. But that stream last night was absolutely amazing. Paper Chase Comics had an amazing stream, did amazing shows about this, Mighty Comics and Collectibles. A lot of really great people are helping out. Hey, Armando just brought this up, so I want to say something. I know you're going to jump into this perhaps. He says, don't forget Comic Tim as well. So before you get into your shout outs, I want to say a special shout out to Comic Tom and a special thank you. He's been very kind, very supportive. We've had some great conversations lately, and there was something beautiful that happened. I'll let Dave take that away.
So there were some shout outs on the channel, and if you've ever watched my channel before, there's another guy that does, host shows and videos sometimes. His name's Comic Tim. Now, I have no association with this man whatsoever, but I'm just gonna, I think it's prudent that everybody in here just kind of know that Comic Tim and Comic Tom now live in the same space.
Stand for breaking this story. You can find him on Instagram. We have West Coast Davengers on YouTube. Shout out Comic Tim. I'll put links.
I mean, look, the multiverse is real, and big ups to Comic Tom for recognizing
cool.
Comic Tim, and hopefully we'll get a response from Comic Tim down the line. But I do. Oh yeah.
I love great sportsmanship. I just love the energy that surrounds that exchange.
100%.
A huge fan of that, man.
I want to get to this. What's the next step for CGC? Are they going to redesign their cases? Obviously, a case redesign is a big deal. But I think before that, they need to figure out the A to B. How do we make sure that because look, plastic is plastic. You can manipulate it. It's made in a factory. It's not made of gold. Okay. If they can't figure out a way to make 102% tamper-proof case, they still need to figure out how we get the inner well to have something in it, whether it's a chip, embossing, the serial number, the cert number embossed on it, so that this can't happen again, even if it tries to happen again. But I still think, and I if you're listening, CGC, every time a book comes in, till the point that it leaves, every step of the way, imaging. This would not have been possible if the reholder came in and there was an image of a slab when it left the building originally, and the guy looked at it and said, "This doesn't look right." I mean, I think that's a super important thing, and it's very easy. Cameras everywhere.
100%. And I think that process is obviously changing now, and that has to be implemented. And you know what's weird about it is like they did have pictures for a lot of slabs that were recently graded, but when you look at the cert numbers now, it's only the pictures of when they were re-encapsulated. Those pictures shouldn't be deleted. Like we as individuals should be able to also see every image associated with every visit of that book to Sarasota, to CGC. So back to this idea, because we should talk about this, Dave. You and I, we should figure this out here.
Sure.
They are going to have to. I mean, I feel like it's unavoidable. A new case has to be created here, because with the videos circulating, with what we know, it is difficult to trust, right? See, the thing is this: creating a pain point for the dealers and the sellers is the way that not creating, it's already existed, but now making it something they have to speak out about is when CGC is going to effectively have to make some change, because the dealers are slabbing hundreds of books, right? They're relying on the consumer base to trust what they're buying, not question it, so their business could run fluidly, smoothly.
Sure.
If that's interrupted, well, the only thing the dealers can do is demand something from CGC. And I think we're at that point now where you can't just keep it quiet, shut up, things are going great, don't say nothing, everything's fine. No, it's out in the public now. This shit is messed up. The system is broken, slabs are compromised. Anybody that has the patience and the skill to do so can try something shady and
try and game the system.
It's unfortunate, but I think it's very important that that information came out, and this was the time that it was going to. That genie was not going to be kept in the bottle, man. People already knew. People just kept it hush hush because it was beneficial to their bottom line. Well, that's over now. Yeah.
Well, I will say this: I spoke to I had a phone call with Damon, Bronze Age Batcave owner in Los Gatos, California. If you guys never been to that store, if you're in the Bay Area, it's one of the best. Damon's also been doing live claim sales on Instagram for 2 years, and now he's doing eBay live. He slabs more books than any person I personally know. Sometimes it's 25 every 2 weeks. And he said, and the bottom line of it is going to probably affect the price. And I don't mean the cost of grading, I mean the worth of books. And he's a little nervous for that. But at the end of the day, and this whole thing does expose the shitty garbage behavior of one seller, and probably it's indicative of more people out there. But at the end of the day, he said, it's my reputation that I ride on, and he's got one of the best reputations in the in the comic selling industry, definitely on the West Coast. And so it's going to weed out a lot of horrible bad eggs, but the good eggs are going to rise up, And
I
so this,
love that. Yes.
yeah, and it exposes a lot. And you know
No,
what?
let's double down on that. I want to add to that when you're done.
Yeah. No, go for it.
No, I absolutely love that. I respect what Damon said. And if you're a seller that has spent the last several years treating customers well, making right if ever anything went wrong, you're the ones that are going to be appreciated more going into the future. A fly-by-night seller, a quick flipper, the market was already tough for that. Well, now you're done. Now you're out of
Mhm.
here, right? Because you're already not going to be operating, well, I don't want to say with the highest level of integrity, but you might not have been here. You might not have established a foundation. You might not have had the best intentions of this being your full-time everything. But the people that dedicate their life to this, that take care of their customers, they're highlighted now, because if someone calls them with a concern, they answer the phone. And if someone says, dude, I really think that this slab has been messed with, they're going to say, you know what, send it back. I don't want to put you in a weird spot or anything like that. Their business is going to become strengthened, and they're going to be able to make it through whatever sort of, questionable environment is created in the meantime. And whenever those new slabs do come out, they're rocking and rolling. They are rocking and rolling. They've advised their customers, helped their customers, and now they're ready to go with something that is hopefully foolproof. Like, if the case has to be created such that it is completely shattered upon any attempt to open it, I
Yeah,
think that's
somebody.
absolutely fine. You and I spoke about this. Someone in the chat just said this. The
Yeah,
reason for opening a case is not to preserve the case. The case means shit after you open it. It's to get the book out, to press it, to go for a grade bump, to get it signed, whatever, whatever. If the case is absolutely destroyed when opened, that is perfectly fine.
of course it is. If you're going to crack something out, you're going to reholder it anyway. If your intentions are to do that, I do want to build upon what you just said with 2 points. Reef
Mhm.
said it's our fault that we treat CGC like the god of grading comics. And before I even get into that, Neo kind of held that up with the problem is that there's zero competition because CBCS is a bigger mess. Now, I personally, most of you that watch my shows, go to my sales, know that I'm not a fan of graded comics. Personally, for me, not my thing. Because, right, why are we depending on a company to tell us what condition our comics are in and what they're worth? And there needs to be more competition, 100%. And that is one
Has
of
to
the
be.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that is one of the main problems here. When you have a godlike figure in anything, it's impossible to say other than their word. It's impossible to say, well, no, this is how I feel about it, because everybody's just going to say, well, it says it's a 9.4. Well, that means I'm paying this.
You're absolutely right. This is an unraveling of what people had gotten
System.
complacent and used to, right?
Sure.
It's going to be uncomfortable until it gets better. It is the harsh reality of it. Dealers that have too much inventory tied up in CGC don't want this to happen. And like I said at the top of the show, I can understand that. That sucks. But
Mhm.
we need a better, safer future. Shit is going to get messy before it gets cleaned up. It is just what has to happen.
Couple more points here. Bruce Lee, rest in peace, but he's right here. Bruce Lee said a new slab with new security features will likely drive up costs. What's my perspective on the future of grading? I personally think that's perfect with me. Do you know why? Less people grading fucking $5 books, wasting plastic, and then trying to dump them for 20 bucks, losing money. That just wipes away an entire type of grading. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but just get a top loader for your $5 really nice variant or frame it. Don't flood the market with slabs that are useless. You want to raise the price? That's fine, because I'm not trying to be an elitist, because I'm not a huge big book guy. But if it cost me $70 to slab my $25,000 Amazing Spider-Man 9.2, that's fine. I don't care that the price went up. And once again, not a fan of it. But from I run a business and people buy that stuff. I'm not leaving $20,000 on the table. That's just
And
not smart.
and now from the perspective of someone that is a fan, because I respect where Dave's coming from and I agree with him. My way to getting to agreeing with him is a little different, but it's on point. The thing is this: when Swaggle says not to stir anything up, I really want to read it, so I'm going to read that in a second. But I want to get this out before I forget. Now, I am a supporter and a fan of third-party grading. I think taking the word of a properly run company gives you confidence rather than taking the word of someone that might not have any ill intention, just might not be skilled in the art of grading or recognizing an imperfection. You know, there are a
Mhm.
lot of people that I show a 9.2 to, and they're like, "This thing looks mint," and I'm like, "Well, you just don't get what's going on
You
here."
don't know what you're
And
looking for, yeah.
so I don't want that to be the person to tell me the grade. I want is it bipartisan, the word? A bipartisan third-party grading company that actually knows what they're doing, to have that authority, you know, not the authority we've given, and that was a problem, but you know, to have that say in it. I do want third-party grading to succeed. I need a good, legitimate company to make that happen. Now, if that means that prices, I'm not a fan of prices going up, but if costs have to go up for the right reasons, I am a supporter of it. And I do agree with what Dave is saying, that will deter unnecessary grading. That's
Yeah,
one of the problems here. Grading unnecessarily clogs the system, which means they have to turn around books quicker, which means less time is spent on your books, less attention is paid to detail, and kind of everybody gets the shit end of the stick. They don't get what they pay for. So if less people are grading, only the important stuff is getting graded. That's actually what that system was supposed to be. And back to what Dave said, and something we said on the last stream, and James Dorfler here also said, you know, how about Mylar? Yeah, if you have a modern book you really love, learn how to keep it safe. Learn
yeah.
how to put it into the proper bag and board and keep it safe. And 10 years from now, 5 years from now, whenever it's time for you to capitalize on that book, if it pops, if something happens, if your quote unquote spec pays off, grade it then. Grade
Sure.
it then. You don't have to invest additional money into it. It takes up more space when it's encapsulated. So you're giving up more real estate in your collection. You're paying money to have it encapsulated. If it's for your personal collection and it's new, you do not need to grade the book, in my personal opinion. Now, what did Swag
All
say?
right.
Not to stir anything up.
Oh
Go.
yeah. I'll read this, but I just want to point out Immaculate said, I agree with this. $50,000 book should have more security than $50 books. Look, I have that Spider-Man book coming back to me, and I'm terrified of what it could happen to it in the mail. But Swag said, not to stir anything up, but I smirked when I saw certain dealers who were quiet about the scam immediately share the CGC response. 100% Swag. We all
I
saw
like
that.
when Swag stirs stuff up.
We that is, I noticed it. I think me and Manu talked about it on a phone call. Look, people,
Some of the
they're
dealers called me.
yeah. You know, slave to a corporation is, some people are just gonna look at that and be like, oh well, okay. But
You know, we're at a really pivotal point where our voices are being heard, like the collectors, the people on the ground floor, the collectors, not the people that rely on this to pay their bills, but the collectors, the people that are the end consumer, the end home for these products, right? Our voices are really being taken seriously right now. And it's really important for us to not be threatened by who we might offend, intimidated by whose feelings we might want to, you know, uh, not upset, whatever I'm trying to say. We have to stand for something. We have to demand respect. This is our money being spent. Yes, people have
mhm,
livelihoods to consider and businesses to run, but you got to think about what you're buying and what you're paying for first. If you don't take care of you first, you know, this whole thing just keeps happening. It perpetuates. We can't let the businesses dictate what's right for us. We have to demand what's right for us. But
um,
Swag, I love that you said that. And yes, a lot of the people that were quiet certainly did throw up that note, that thing, which we'll talk about a little bit, even though it's been talked to pieces. But it's important to discuss it. There's some really great verbiage in there that's worth looking into, and also there's some kudos to give to CGC, and I want to give them their flowers as well, where they're rightfully earned.
I do want to point out, Andrew, our friend, RS Cali, said I think it would be foolish for us to only think one person is or was doing this. And of
100%.
course, I mean
100%.
but we don't know. We don't know who. And that's, you know, obviously we're hoping that investigations come out and find out if it was 3, 4, 5 people. But I just want to say this, and you know, I was talking about Bronze Age Batcave with Damon, or for example, Manu and myself. I want to just put a little bit of a spotlight on the type of service, especially the two guys you're looking at on the screen. We grade raw. You know, we buy raw, we grade books. You know, I have a video coming out with Taj in the next couple of weeks of these 2 books that he graded for me. And it's like, this is one of the reasons why I started the YouTube channel, to show you who's buying books from me, where I get this stuff, what I do with it, what I grade, what I don't. And there's a lot of people that grade books just without thinking, flood the market, but even stuff that you might think is good. But honestly, there's only like a certain percentage of books that are really, really helped by grading. All the comic books that are out there and all the ages that are out there, it's only a big, a small chunk of this big amount of books that really are helped by grading. So one of the things going forward, whatever CGC does, rethink what you're getting graded. I mean, I think I'm just nailing that home a little bit too much.
No, no. I think it's lovely for you to do that, and a conversation that I recently had with someone that is, a dealer, someone that I respect, was trying to put into perspective for me, kind of not necessarily like I'm not going to speak for the guy, but I'm also not saying his name, so it's okay. And he was kind of putting into perspective for me that I should appreciate where we are with CGC. He said, "Look what CGC has done for the comic book community. It went from being, this thing to." He basically, in other words, said it was commoditized by CGC. It became something that everyone can engage with. eBay's flooded with graded books. People that don't know about grading aren't sophisticated in the ways of books. They can identify the value of something. And it's like it dumbed it down and turned it into like this exchange of a plastic item. And I actually take the other side of that. Like, I don't necessarily believe that's a great thing. I think that is a problem. I think that's
Yeah.
made it too loosely appreciated, like it's some toy or some collectible to put on your mantle. It's not that. It's not a statue. It's not an action figure. It's very, very different. It's a book that a lot of people grew up with. They read, they have memories of it. For it to just be treated like an encapsulated item to put on your fireplace is rather ridiculous. And to champion or to cheerlead for the fact that that's what this has become and that's something to be celebrated, I'm kind of with all due respect, I'm on the other side of that. With all due respect, I think comic books and the grading of them is something far more special. I think it has way more emotion in it than it became commoditized. And look how big these grading companies made it. I really don't give a shit how big these grading companies made it. They also ruined it at the same time because now there's a bunch of fake shit floating around, and we need to fix that, quite frankly. Again, that was a conversation with somebody that I respect. And if you're watching this, I respect you, and I'm sorry that yeah.
Twan55 says, "What's the best way to know if our bought slabs?" So I don't know what that says. Oh, so low. So IOW, not books from our collection are legit. Is this primarily Bronze Age Marvels or House of Secrets 92 also at risk? I mean, there's no way in the world to know that what is in the slab, just in general, from an actual like common sense point of view. Unless you graded the book yourself, you don't know what's actually in that slab in between those two covers. Now that's just a general kind of statement. I mean, know who you're buying from. That's a big deal. If you're buying from eBay, you can't really know who you're buying from, but you do have a little bit of a guarantee. You're backed by, they back the buyers more than the sellers every day of the week. But I mean, look, I used to work in the autograph industry. I know I've said this over and over, but when people talk to me about buying an autograph, they're like, well, how do I know if it's real or not? I'm like, well, PSA has been certifying authentic autographs for 25 years. So you at least have their guarantee that it's real. But obviously, in this case, CGC is also backed by a guarantee. But honestly, unless you get it yourself, you don't know it's real. If that person didn't sign that thing in front of you, you have no way of knowing that it's real, no matter how many fucking people told you it's real.
And that doubles down on what you said earlier. It's like people like you and I, we grade our own books from raw, and we know when it's our book that's returned to us. Books have a fingerprint we recognize. I don't mean a literal fingerprint. I mean, they have, we can identify when a book is ours. Really quickly, Shaggy said, not sure I'd agree with that. Not sure I'd completely agree with that. I believe, unless he's referring to another comment, he's talking about, what I just said about like, if it just completely became commoditized and it's about buying, pieces of plastic with cool art on the inside, and I don't think that's the greatest thing. I don't completely agree with that either, Shaggy. Like, I like third-party grading. I'm just saying I'm not completely sure that it's the greatest thing in the world, and I don't know that that's a reason to keep quiet about the trouble. Like, no, things are good. Don't say nothing. I'm not that guy. I have a moral obligation to say something. Swagglehouse says, agree to Neo. So I want to know.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Neo on this. He said, I will be willing to bet that this has little to no impact on the secondary market or prices for CGC. The bubble on this is growing bigger and bigger. The echo chamber is getting larger and larger. I've talked to a couple of comic store owners in the last day or two that are all hearing little pieces of this. I think it will. I think it will. I think it won't for certain people. as I was talking to Damon from Bronze Age Batcave, reputation wins, but I think it does have a little bit of an impact. I'll be at, I'll be at Original Art Expo next month, even though it's original art. There's going to be a lot of heavy hitters there. I'm sure people are going to be talking about it. And then, MegaCon's right after it. I mean, it's almost unavoidable because the bigger this gets, the more people find out, and the more people, as you can see in the chat, you can see in the CGC boards, you can see on Facebook, are vocally angry at what's going on. Some of it very justifiable, some of it just kind of blind, shouting into the sky.
You have Jason Woods up here. Is this something you want to address? Because I want to address Derek Neiman's comment really quickly.
Let me find it.
Oh, and also I want to provide my opinion on Neos in a second too. Derek says, so Manu, the flip side of that is that grading significantly lowers the barrier of entry to newbies getting into the hobby. Maybe they don't know how to detect resto or where to find page count for Golden Age, etc. And Derek, you're absolutely right. And I don't think I mentioned that in this rant a moment ago, but Dave and I have spoken about this before. Like, that's kind of where grading companies shine. That's where it's the most difficult to understand what you're purchasing. And unfortunately, we still need the grading companies to step up to the plate and become a trusted resource for us again. Because slabs are compromised and switcheroos have happened with these sorts of books and things of that sort. But I actually totally agree with you when I'm talking about kind of like this. I don't want to this is not a bash whatnot sort of thing, but like,
that's too easy.
Yeah, no, how do I say this carefully? Actually, it doesn't have to be careful. If someone just wants to buy a $50 slab because they want to buy it, there's actually nothing wrong with that. I think I'm just recognizing the fact that did clog the grading system, that did require, things to be sped up. And that doesn't necessarily help the collectors that want more attention paid to their books and want to grade the stuff that's actually really, deserving of careful attention. But Derek, I totally agree with you. But I also support the idea of, like, if the book's $35 and you get it graded and then you're going to sell it for 70, like, you didn't have to get it graded, is all I'm saying.
I mean, the problem is that comic books are an intricate thing. I think there are, and there's always going to be people taking advantage. The card industry, it's this the trimming of the cards. There was the dude years ago, Jason Ewert or something like that was doing some shady stuff with CGC. Maurice points out before CGC grading, shoddy dealers got away with lots of crap selling, restored raws, so it was never perfect, and it never will be perfect. Obviously that's just a fairy tale that doesn't exist. But targeting, what this person did and, did for a long time was taking advantage of people and defrauding them. Okay. That's what it was. It wasn't, we got to use heavier words with this. This person, I hope, does the proper jail time, faces justice, and all of the people that bought books. I don't give a shit who it is, even if it was my worst enemy, gets made whole by CGC for this. And, their statement really only works if the actions back it up, and if the system is rebuilt, because this really does, it exposes the entire system of grading. And whether you like it, whether you don't, whether you use it, whether you don't, it doesn't matter, because this is a part of comics. It's been for 20 something years now. It's not going away, just like grading cards will never go away, no matter what we all feel about it.
Let me reflect on, let me provide my answer to, or my response to what Neo said. Neo said, he doubts that prices will be affected. And I think if prices are not affected, that's beautiful. Like, that would make me feel good, because that would indicate that people are being more careful and deciding what they should and shouldn't buy. But when they find something that checks out, they trust the dealer, they know that they feel really good that the book is secure, it's the right thing that they're paying for. They're paying, the market value for it. And I would be very, very happy to see that be the result. More, not suspicion. What's the word for, like, being more careful buyer, more
cautious,
concerned, a more cautious, perfect. Being more cautious, but when you find what you're looking for and you've practiced caution, you pay what it's worth. You don't try to use this situation to get a discount because you're unsure. Buy what you're sure of. And if you're unsure, don't buy it. So I would love to see what Neo is saying play out. I do think that it's unavoidable that certain things will end up being discounted, and so on and so forth. But I think the thing is, we're already in a down market. This doesn't help, that's for sure. But as long as we're cautious and we pay for what we want when we find what we want, we are going to be okay. 1% is around. Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to just address this, Binky. By the looks of CGC's terms, they don't offer any guarantee, even if a case has been tampered with, which is true, even though guarantee is it's in the name of the company. But I do want to show something. I want to show something that I forget somebody on the board kind of brought the attention to this. When you look on CGC's website at the verification, enter a collectible CGC certification number to confirm its description and grade. Can you guys see this, by the way, Manu?
Yes.
Okay, in the database. This tool can help you to verify that your CGC holder is genuine and has not been tampered with. Well, look who's got egg on their face now, because there's some cert numbers we can put in that we know that that was tampered with. So, maybe once again, backing up their words with a series of very, very diligent actions.
Let me highlight for a second something that I think Swagglehouse brought up. It was on a stream that Swaggle and Neo were doing together, but I think Swaggle brought it up independently as well. He actually put the guarantee, like what they guarantee page.
Yeah, that
up
was
on the
Neo, I
screen.
think.
I think it was Swag, but I mean they're both with us, so they both get credit.
Our friends.
Yeah, they were together when it happened. But they could correct me. I want everyone to get the credit. I'm a credit guy. Now, it was very interesting because it was an eye-opener for me. I never read, what they actually guarantee. And in the comic book section, it only guarantees two things. And I'm only saying what Swag has already said. And it said that, we guarantee that two people touch every book. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it is. But they say that. And that could be a grader and a head grader that just says, yeah, you did a good job. Send it on. I don't know. And then the second thing that they guarantee is that the item is authentic. Now, it's a very, very vague description. And that doesn't necessarily, like Swag said, that doesn't necessarily mean they guarantee that it's complete or the green label is not a blue label, so on and so forth. It just means that your 181 is a 181. It doesn't mean that they graded it correctly or that it's not missing anything. It's just, the example Swag gave was like, if it's a 181 facsimile that gets slabbed as a real 181, they will back it. Neo, it was you? I'm sorry, Neo.
And that's why, look, we have started a war in the comments.
Just funny thing. I put together the thumbnail for this video, right? And I'm like, oh shoot, I want to call it this. And Dave was like, that's a great name. So we ran with it. And I said, dude, I'm going to take one of my empty slabs and put this thing in it that says trust, right? And then I was like, no, I'm going to rip the trust in half. I'm going to put trust in there and part of it outside. You guys see the thumbnail. You see what I did. Late last night, 3:00 in the morning, I'm scrolling, right? And I see a YouTube video that I already watched. The red line was all the way through. It's a Neo video, and it had the word trust on a piece of paper torn in half. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a crook. So 3 a.m. in the morning, I text Neo, and I said, Neo, I'm sorry, brother. I thought I was being original. I thought I was inspired by myself. Subconsciously, I literally must have remembered your thumbnail. Please forgive me. I ripped you off. I'm sorry. But I'm really happy with the thumbnail.
We all know that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Yeah.
And, if anything, that's what that teaches us.
Exactly. I love this argument they're having here. I love that. That's freaking amazing. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back on topic. The guarantee. So, but the other thing that I want to reflect on, again, giving kudos to some parts of what CGC is doing. Again, Swag has done this as well. It does appear that they might be bending their technical guarantee, to accommodate for these returns because there's fraud here. Now, the first company I saw do this, and I was proud to see it, was eBay. eBay has a 30-day return policy. They lifted that for books purchased from this account. You can return. I don't know how long back they're willing to go, but
sure.
We have friends that have now returned books that were purchased longer than 30 days ago. And so I respect that. And I believe CGC is taking the same approach, which is completely right. Like, how disrespectful would it be to tell a customer, sorry, it's been greater than 2 weeks. We can't do anything for you, even though it's kind of our mistake. That's not fair.
No, that's not good. So Bruce Lee said, what's your recommendation to collectors with slab-worthy comics? Wait till the dust settles. Do you feel an industry standard is needed? An industry standard has been needed since this started, but it wasn't going to happen because I don't even know how they decided to form CGC. Like, was it a bunch of comic store owners? Anyway, there needs to be an interesting industry standard, but slab worthy comics, you need to assess your own books. I mean, if you feel that your 9.0 New Mutants 87 looks better in plastic, go for it. But I can tell you, as somebody that sells books for a living, it's not worth it. It's not gonna increase the value of it. You are going to be able to sell that book raw for the same price you can in a slab. So you need to also, this is aside from what CGC needs to do. Us as collectors also need to assess what we should be doing. And that's an
Yeah.
ongoing thing. People say collect what you love, collect what you like, all that stuff. But you really need to assess what it is you want to do with your collectibles. Some people only want them slabbed. Some people want them in the package when it's a toy. They want their cards in top loaders and not. And it's
And I
hard to
can
tell somebody what to do.
and I can speak to this directly from, the situation that I'm in now. So Bruce says, again, I'm going to read it. What's your recommendation to collectors with slab-worthy comics? Wait till the dust settles. Do you feel an industry stand? Me personally, I'm waiting until the dust settles. Taj called me today. Very expensive book of mine is with him. It's getting ready to go into the press the second time. And I said, we're probably going to wait before shipping this off, at least a couple months. And, with everything going on. And so me personally, the comment's gone. I can't look at it again. So there it is. Me personally, I'm waiting till the dust settles. And do you feel an industry? Because I know the grades in my books. When I send a 9.8 to get 9.8'd, I'm not sending something that might be a 9.4 and saying, I hope I get lucky. I'm sending 9.8s to get 9.8 written on them. That's what I'm doing. And when they come back 9.6s, it's books that I thought could have been a 9.6 or a 9.8. I'm not playing I hope I get lucky. I can't wait to see my grade. I know the fucking grade if it's graded correctly. Apologies, I'm sorry. And so then what was the last bit of what he said? What was the last bit of
he
that
just
question?
said, do you feel an industry standard is needed?
Oh, well, the answer for that is absolutely. And I don't know how long it's going to take until that comes, but whenever that comes, it's not going to be a press release that says we're the greatest company ever. When that company introduces itself, we're also going to have to test that company for a few years to see if they meant what they said, right? It's not going to come quick. It's not going to come overnight. I have absolutely no problem keeping my coolest, rarest, most valuable books protected without a slab until that happens. I've got zero concerns about
Hey,
that.
I've got a Detective Comics, I forget what the number is, the first Riddler, sitting away in a dark, dry place, and it will probably never get slabbed because that book is worth way too much money for me to let it get fucked up.
Comic fan again. He says, I do think this hobby is being ruined by the 9.8 snobs. Now, here's the interesting thing about this comment. I'm a 9.8 snob.
You are.
I very much am, but also I'm not an idiot. I'm not delusional. I'm not
Of course.
naive. I'm a 9.8 snob, but the system's broken. So the hell with it. We have to do what's right. We have to do what's best for us. And chasing 9.8s right now, it ain't the safest thing.
Trust me, I would not have sent those 2 books into CGC except they went before this, we found this out. So that'll be my last 2 books for a while. Or last books. When CGC was formed, I thought that the idea of taking a comic book and making it so that no one can read it or smell it was an idiotic idea. Boy, was I ever wrong. And Immaculate, I know that's your opinion. I disagree. But, once again, I am a hypocrite. But I run a business.
Wait,
What am I
disagree
going to
with
do?
what? He's kind of agreeing with you. What do you mean?
Oh, he thought that the idea was, yep, nope. I read that wrong.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
and the reason he's saying, boy, was I wrong, is because look what me and our consumer friends in the market has decided, that buying books encapsulated is awesome. And I think it's always comedic to have that conversation, right? Where people are like, well, you can't read it. Well, most people are slabbing books they've already read, right? And they're slabbing the high grade versions of books that we have raw, right? Like, I get the joke, I get the sarcasm in it, and it's forever going to be funny. You're encapsulating something that has interior pages. Not to mention, you're encapsulating something and on the label recognizing what's inside that you're never going to see again.
Yeah, you're never going to see it again.
Freaking hilarious.
I just want to,
yeah,
I want to say thank you also to Marsh on a personal level. I got your gift today, and it's fucking awesome. He sent me a Jaws coffee mug.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Marsh. Even that makes me smile. In order to keep a high standard for these companies, there is no need. Oh, this is coming from Rain in the.
Boys,
What
just
is it?
construct.
Rain in the. I
Rain in
forgot.
the
Rain in the.
rain in threes. Rain in the
Rain in
threes. He's
threes.
on
That one.
fire. Yeah.
That
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
In order to keep a high standard for these companies, there is no need for
Bada
bada
boys.
boys, just constructive criticisms, as they are not our friends and they treat us like. I am with you,
Yeah.
brother. I am with you 100%. Like it's a human psychology, right? They are like CGC. We're talking about CGC. CGC is this big, shiny company. And when they do like a collector spotlight, it makes everyone feel so good. But let's not misunderstand what that's being done for. It's all marketing so that a company can sell you something. We are smart enough to know that. That doesn't mean they're bad. That doesn't mean they're good. But yeah, I do not look at CGC like my friend. I'm paying them for a service. I expect the service to be rendered, and I don't forgive them when they screw it up. I'm calming down. One of the things over the years that has been so frustrating for me is that when something goes right, everyone, oh, CGC, thank you so much. CGC didn't do you a favor, bro. You paid for it. They did their job. They didn't do shit for you. You found the high grade book. You paid to get it encapsulated. They didn't do shit for you other than what you paid for. And then when they screw you, you get quiet. That is wrong. That's why these things have gotten this far, because the companies get away with it because the human psychology is like fearful to speak up and so celebratory when they feel like something's been done right. But it's the flip.
It's capitalism 101. Come on, it's a system that preys upon people not speaking up. Amber, I don't, and there's no way to know who bought these books until that, we know personally some people that bought the books, but there's no way to know at mass until they release a list so people can start looking at their certs. And also, Amber, it's on its way. Don't worry.
And believe there are people that are going to have books on that list that aren't going to say nothing. It is just the sad truth.
Yeah, there are people that have spoken up to us, and it's not my place to tell you who, because it's personal to them, and I wouldn't want to make it public knowledge until I knew for sure what was going on with my book.
Oh, shoot. Guys, I forgot. This giveaway's done. We had like 600 entries. I'm going to run the randomizer tomorrow. Someone's winning this 9.2. This last sold for like $370. Before that, $425. It's like a $400 book. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, Malibu Sun 13, cool book, 9.2. It's a decent grade in this book. But when you get this book, whoever wins, I don't know who's going to win. And the odds aren't great for anyone. A lot of people entered. I'll probably do more winners. They're not going to get other Malibu Suns, but I'll give something because there's a lot of entries. Whoever wins this book, feel free to crack this thing out. Who cares if it's in a slab or not? Crack it out. Show us that you cracked it out.
Did I win it?
I didn't run it yet. I'm running it tomorrow.
All right, whatever. I'm cracking it out if I win it. Okay. Wilbert said the only player that could enter the grading spaces collectors universe without that kind of backing, the barrier of entry is just too damn high for someone to start a grading company. What about PSA? Somebody mentioned it in the
collectors universe is the owner of PSA.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, somebody had mentioned that, and yeah, I don't, sure. Sure. I got nothing to add to that. It's a very good statement on its own.
Delete Neo's comment. No, just
hold on. Let's get there. So, year one, part two. Oh yeah, of course you got it, Matt. Of course, my man. Only slab books that are scarce that are one, and I don't disagree with you, but it's like also it's like we can't tell people not to, like we can, but they don't have to listen. But if CGC decides to open up a wing of only the ultra modern stuff goes to a different place, and it gets the case, and then the high value stuff gets a new, really nice case, I'm all for that too. Let's.
But then what if your ultra modern becomes high value? Then you have to resubmit it for the better case.
That's true. But how many times does that actually happen? Once.
And here's the other thing about this, right? People like to ignore the fact that I don't know what CGC's position on this is now, but I've heard this said by grading companies, grading people. CGC puts this, what is it, micro chamber paper inside
they used
the book.
I don't think they do anymore, do they?
And that I don't know, that was supposed to absorb gases and stuff, but that gets saturated, and every 10 years you're actually supposed to re-encapsulate your books. Tell me what collector with 1,000 encapsulations every 10 years is going to re-encapsulate those.
Well,
this system might have been
look,
messed up
but that's also the same thing as like you're supposed to replace your bag and board every so odd years, and nobody.
But bro, that's a much easier. I know people that do that. They put the music on.
I'm just saying there's would have, should have, could have in everything. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. Binky, there's nothing. We can't address this. I have exactly zero experience with the law. I've never been arrested, and I've never arrested
I want to
anybody.
read the comments that we're responding to, so I'm going to read it. Can you guys give us your take on whether CGC should? Oh, now I know why you said what you said. Can you guys give us your take on whether CGC should be bringing the FBI in to properly, independently investigate just how big the? Yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to read it so that anyone listening back knows what Dave is, responding to.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm with Dave. I can't speak to that.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're taking every step.
If you want my personal opinion, I think this guy should be prosecuted for fraud because that's what he committed. But I don't know the law, you know.
And Shaggy, shout out to you, man. Shout out to
Like,
you. I don't freaking know. I actually, since they grade these books, like they give all kinds of high grades when it has rust. This one has a tiny bit of rust, but it got a 9.2. It also has fine ticks. You might crack this, send this in, and get a 9.6 on it. To be completely honest, that's the sort of world we're living in right now.
9.2 is probably like an 8.0.
Yeah, exactly that comment.
Why don't we as a community create our undistributed and easy grading slabbing company? Every local store, local comic store could be on an official grader and encapsulator. You know why? Because have you dealt with a lot of people in this community? Because I have.
Immaculate, I want to explore that thought in depth. I've toyed around with the idea of what it might. I personally am not going to start a grading company.
No, me neither.
I'm not going to, but I do want to toy around with the idea in my head of what would it take for someone to actually execute on some kind of a plan. I know people that have a lot of money that could if they wanted to. I just don't know what it takes to do it. I don't know. I mean,
but you have to know you have to train people. I mean, you need to train people in this stuff because there's so many nuances to a comic book, and we're talking 110 years worth of comic books that can be graded.
can we talk to this? Yeah, can we talk to this real quick? Reef says what we need is a grading advisory board like the Overstreet Advisor. What are the Overstreet Advisors? What is this?
Oh, they're people that are in the comic industry. I think it's mostly comic store owners, maybe some historians. I'm not sure on that. But the Overstreet Advisory Board, basically the people that create the Overstreet Price Guide. They're I think I'm getting this kind of accurate.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Is Overstreet something that you got to forgive me, guys? And just let me know, is Overstreet something that people still use regularly to price books and things? And how often does Overstreet put out a price guide?
They put one out, I think, twice a year, and I think people still stick to it. Old school owners, shop owners still use it. I've
heard, yeah.
I've bought collections from people that have used that. Yeah, look, Jeff from Ancient Comics, which was my local comic store and one of the greatest in Seattle, he used Overstreet. And you know what? He made a fuck ton of money year after year doing so.
Nice.
So, the model's a little bit outdated with that book when it came to the pandemic, because the 2022 price guide reflected but now we're in the next year should reflect actually normal prices again.
Things were moving too quickly for the past 3 years for it to be something that is on point in the moment. But going forward, maybe it will, work out, being updated only once or twice a year. But that's good to know. Like, I have respect for them. I just don't use them. But I can understand why old school collectors absolutely would, keep that.
I'll just briefly speak to Matt's point. See, we're talking about holstering issues here. How many of us have had books lost, damaged? Yes. Or worse, the wrong book sent back? No, but backwards. So yeah, the quality control overall still needed to get better at CGC.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. And that, it just needs an overhaul. I mean, the best way to say it. All right. So do we think CGC will notate a fraud alert when someone searches a registry number of compromised books? Will they just post a list of registry numbers? I mean, they should just post the registry numbers, but like I said, I got to imagine they're still probably discovering books. Just for example, Manu brought something to my attention. I did a little research and I wasn't able to find it. I spoke to this earlier. He was messing around with TMNT ones, first print, second print, and third print. He sold a couple on eBay and then resold the same ones. So he was not just doing the reholdering. He was not just doing the physical scam. He was also fucking with the market. He was not price fixing. What's manipulating. Thank you. So he was doing a little bit of everything. If it's just one person, that is.
And the interesting thing about the TMNT is, like, that's a book. Like, even when I first brought it to Dave's attention, I said, dude, he's been messing with TMNTs. I just can't like fully connect the dots. So I don't want to publicly say this cert number, that cert number. And Dave was like, man, I really hope he wasn't screwing with that book. It's already such a low print book. It's sacred. It's so special.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then,
very sacred book.
and then we saw a couple of other books that he had listed somewhere. You know, there's a way to identify who's listed the books on. Anyway, we saw a couple of his books listed. And then a friend of ours, oh, I forgot to mention, a friend of mine, I think he's with us in the chat right now. He spent a great deal of money with Zanglor in 2021, and he's, you know, trying to figure out how to be made whole here. Also, he was sent pictures of dozens of books that Zanglor had that he wanted to sell, and I'm talking crazy stuff. And in some of those pictures were other TMNTs, and I was like, I sent that over to Dave. I was like, Dave, he definitely had his filthy little hands all over these TMNTs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's unfortunate.
I did a little digging with Comic Wiz on the forum, and we couldn't connect the dots, but we knew the dots were there to connect. The only thing I could think of is that he wasn't able to swap the TMNT one successfully. That's all I can think of, because I wasn't able to find a point that book was sold.
Jabe says, I value Raws with Overstreet. That's what I imagine. I imagine like a comment, like me personally, I can see that. I can see an LCS owner just quickly flipping through oh, and that's if he's pricing the books at the counter, which is a whole nother thing that people like to, have opinions about, which I sort of share in some of those opinions. But anyway, that makes sense. I mean, respect to Overstreet. The only Overstreet that I've recently bought was a hardcover one that McFarlane did, Spawn and Spider-Man on the cover.
It's the only time he ever drew them together. Yeah.
I had to have it. It's still sealed. And now I want to buy the paperback version so I could flip through it, but I bought the hardcover still sealed.
Immaculate.
Leo, my man, what up?
Manu told me a similar story about a friend that had two ASM 300s that were swapped in the cases, and he's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. What did Immaculate?
He said, I sent in two ASM 41, 175140, and they were encapsulated in the wrong cases. CGC only expected me to return the 75 and the 40 case.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, look.
So you would still have the 40
in a 75
case.
Yeah. Look, accountability.
Long live Wizard.
Accountability is the name of the game. But honestly, like, you want to sum it up with one word, CGC needs to work on all of it, but accountability is the first thing. Because if you're not held accountable, then anybody could do whatever they want. If they can swap books, they can fool CGC. They didn't need to get greedy and reholder it. They could just sell it as is. So there's probably thousands of books out there that have been swapped. Look, I personally don't know of any point that somebody proved that he swapped cases. Did it? We know that it was a reholder thing, but there was, as far as I know,
I'll articulate it this way, if you wouldn't mind keeping Vince's comment up there for a second longer so I can reflect on it, please. The video coming out and the light being shined on how easy it is to open up and compromise the CGC case is a result of all of the suspicion and curiosity that was created by discovering initially a reholder scam. Now, like Dave said, we can't say for sure that Zanglor had anything to do with swapped books, but as we start going down the rabbit hole of inefficiencies and flaws in the system, things are being brought to light, and it's good that it's happening. And I don't even think it matters to attach one sort of scam to the scammer. The scammer is the scammer, and there's multiple types of scams, and they could live independently of each other. So, good question, Vince. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, PSA cards, buyback cards off the market that were alerted. Yeah, that I've heard. CGC isn't going to sue anyone. Well, I'm not going to get into any law talk. We'll just leave that out because I'm not a lawyer. He's not a lawyer. We shouldn't speak on the law. That's just
well said. Wrong is wrong. We can talk about that.
Armando values his comics with the Wizard price guide. Armando, I love you.
I only use Wizard issue #1 to value everything.
Guys, I just want to devote 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to saying this. Wizard,
shout out Wizard
magazine.
#1.
We love it for nostalgic reasons. Wizard magazine is, I would put it in the top 3 reasons the comic book market collapsed in the 90s. Maybe number one. Paying for books to be on a top 10 list is usually a bad way to run a business. Anyway, that's that. Remember, TMNT is in a magazine case. That's the thing, Wilbert. I was saying that to
Oh, we
Manu.
got Wizard fans.
I was
Sorry,
saying that
you keep talking.
well, shut up. I was saying this to Manu because I have a couple of original TMNT slabs, and it's the same thing. Like if you were to hold it by the corner and just go like this and snap your wrist, you probably snap the case apart.
Which case?
Those,
Oh, the magazine case?
cases, yeah, they're very much in shoddy plastic. Honestly, those who collect Golden and Silver Age look like geniuses. This makes the I mean, comic fan, I don't agree, because Bronze Age books are great, Copper Age books are great, but I get what you're saying. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I just disagree.
What is he saying? And I'm gonna have to ask you to read it again.
He said, honestly, those who only collect Golden and Silver Age look like geniuses. This makes the rest of us look like we collect trash, literally.
Man, look, comic fan, I'm with Dave. I disagree as well. The thing is, the Golden and Silver Age is not safe here.
No, it's just we haven't seen one yet. That doesn't mean that it's
that's
safe.
The group that's going to keep it the quietest. They're just the most invested in those books. These huge auction houses have sold books from scammers. They're going to try to shut the fuck up about this.
Of course.
Those are the most sensitive books here. The most money is tied up in them. They are not safe here.
No, and the people that you're right. I can tell you from experience that certain people that I haven't heard talking about this are those people. But and Derek, yes, the assumption was that he was going to swap out a later printing of Turtles, which would be a second printing. You can't pass a third printing off as a first because there's a tell on the cover. But the first and second printing covers are almost identical, I think. Maybe even completely identical, but the third has a little more on it that you can tell.
Also,
but that was my assumption.
The price increases in a first print from grade to grade are enough to not even do a second print in place of a
That's
first.
True.
You can have an 8.0 represented as a 9.2. You know, so on and so forth, and you'll have a $15,000 difference in price.
So Leo, I agree, it's a crazy gamble. And what I can tell you is that we were shared photos of him holding a TMNT #1 that he was selling on Grails. And then the digging that I did with Comic Wiz showed that he had sold 2 second printings, 2 third printings, except the third printings were clearly one was a fake sale because same cert number sold twice on eBay. So yeah, this is wild. Hi team, wondering when CGC will list the still only 35 cents. We're waiting. And hopefully it'll be sooner than later. I don't think CGC is unaware.
Let's talk about this really quickly.
CGC is probably unaware. They're not unaware that they need to share this list sooner than later so that we can all figure out where these books are. Because remember, as Neil kind of pointed out, the percentage of people that buy comics versus the percentage of people that know about what's going on it's a small percentage, but we're trying to increase that. And the more we increase that, the more people are going to be able to look at their cert numbers when this list is released, hopefully.
I want to say, first of all, word of the year, provenance or provenance, whatever, like that's the key to the future. Know where they came from. They should be traceable. Anyway, I love that word. I love what it represents. And in antiques, collectibles, fine art, that shit matters so much. It's going to start to matter here just as much. And I love that. The closest thing we have to that right now is pedigree, but let's not get into the whole pedigree thing at the moment. The other thing, kudos to CGC for actually on their first slide in a series of slides with their announcement, saying something so vulnerable, right?
Sure.
That at the moment, they said, they're not saying our investigation is done, it's only limited to, but saying something so major, which is kind of something I didn't expect for them to come out of the gate with, to say hundreds of books they anticipate are affected. The truth about that, I mean, I just think that kudos to them for exposing that, because that shows how serious it is. And again, they wouldn't have spoken on it if it wasn't serious. And they've now reflected on how serious it is. And it's truly could be more serious than that. But big respect for them not downplaying the severity. And the other thing that I want to note is Anyone that says that that statement is not a serious statement, anyone that says, all due respect to everyone's opinion, but I have my own, that hundreds of books, potentially thousands, is not a big deal. And, you know, I don't agree with that at all, because here's why. As collectors, this is very intimate for us. You know, when CGC grades a book, it's just a transaction, it's just a business thing. But when we get our book in and it's damaged, it's personal. If you're one of the individuals, you're going to feel this. And that's what I feel. I don't give a shit if the greater majority is not experiencing anything. I literally feel for the people that have experienced getting screwed over. It's very important. And hundreds of books means thousands of books. There's a bunch of people that didn't get what they paid for. It is very serious. That statement never would have come out if it wasn't. Downplaying the amount of things in comparison to how many things they've graded is exactly what they kind of wanted that to happen. They said, we did 85 million collectibles. First of all, that's not their comic books. That's everything that their parent company is graded.
Yes.
Everything. And to try to compare it to that number and say this doesn't matter is just not true. It matters, because when a book is graded, it's not just sold once. It moves on and on and on and on. And as they say, shit rolls downhill. The people that can't afford are the people that are going to, the people that can't afford to get taken are the ones that ultimately get taken. Mm-hmm. And it's very serious. It's very fucked up. I don't give a shit if there's only 10 books. It's a problem.
Sure. By the way, if anybody is looking to buy one of those wizards from Manu, you can reach him on Instagram and he will sell you pretty much anything.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
And you know, I got a lot of raw stuff to sell now. Yeah. So let's go.
And Swaggle House, that is correct. Wizard is the original and was the original influencer, for better and mostly for worse.
Hey, Dave, can I take a second to shout out using the word influencer? Comicbook.com.
Mm-hmm.
They did an article, and a really awesome person was introduced to me by a friend, the Rivera Collection, Jeremiah. He introduced me to Russell Burlingame, a writer for comicbook.com. And, you know, they published an article and they quoted me all in the article. I love it. And it was so fun to read, because I don't call myself this. It said comics influencer, the 9.9 Newsstand. And it was like, what the hell? That's amazing. I love that.
Let me just say, for everybody listening, I actually read that to him. It was such a sweet moment.
I loved it. He read it to me. He read me the most beautiful story.
You guys don't understand that I talk to this man on the phone probably about 15 hours a day, and I'm only awake for 12.
We'll hang up on the phone, and then he will get a call right back from me. I wanted to say one more thing, but in any case, check out that article, guys. It's a good article. I mean, we're already up to speed, but just to show love to that article, go ahead and click on it.
I want to just speak on one thing. Rail David asked if Golden Age tampering has been discovered with all the restored and qualified books out there. I'm concerned of the potential. No, not that we've been told, but I will say this. Manu, can I share a piece of information in the photo of the TMNT1 of the other book that was in there?
No, because I don't have permission from that individual.
Okay,
not yet. Sorry, maybe
there's no Golden Age. But there's no Golden Age.
That one photo where the TMNT's in the background, I don't have permission to make that public.
Okay, that's fine.
And he's dealing with certain things right now to be made
whole. And we're protecting people. We don't want anybody to lose the chance of getting their money back. And that is really what this is about. Like, it's not about trying to, like, get as much information out there that doesn't need to be out there to clog up the system. There are some people that are working behind the scenes to try and get their money back, because there's a lot of money in a lot of these books. But the TMNT one is a scary thing for me. And who's to say, that this guy wasn't trying to do something, but we have no proof. So I don't want to, putting stuff out there that has no substantiation is just, it gets muddy and dangerous,
Yeah. And there's plenty of shit out there. We already know there's a lot for us to look out for. I want to read this. What does it say? It says, okay, he was selling on Grails, but I thought Grails told one of you that they didn't list any of these books. Oh no, they absolutely listed the books. I mean, this is there. I posted their listings. There was one listing. This is not against Grails. This is just the fact in the story. He used Grails for his ill intentions. What are you going to do?
100%.
One of the listings was $90,000. It was 6 9.8 Mark Jewelers white pages, a 194, a 266, a 252, a Secret Wars 8, a 238, and whatever the hell else I'm missing. But it was 6 of them, and it was $90,000. And he was even commenting on that post, like, wow, what a set. Like, because no one knew who the seller was, but I knew who the seller was out
Sure.
of private communication with him. And many of his books were there. Not only that, he did a lot of, that's all I'll say. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was a
and
misunderstanding, Ryan. He definitely sold on grails.
the private communication is what led to you cracking this open and, you know, calling me and we found the photos.
Yeah,
So, you know,
absolutely. Oh, James, thank you. A Hulk 340 made that 6.
okay.
James
Oh,
knows.
thank you, James. So Tiker 2. What will CGC do to actually compensate people who got scammed? Will they buy the book back? Will they regrade and provide the buyer the market difference in grade? I don't know if anybody has found out or communicated with CGC like what, or I haven't heard. I'm sure we will find out. Personally, what I'd like to see done, we all know that CGC's got the money, especially when it comes to, you know, buying a book off Grails. You have a screenshot of the transaction. You have a screenshot of the payment. They should just fully reimburse you and take those books back. Now, what they do with those books, I say if they find that those books are not legit, and when I mean not legit, I mean not that they're not the grade, if they have married or if they have married Mark Jewelers or married MVSs, whatever it is, they should destroy them. Take them right out. Non-existent anymore. Nobody can be made wrong by these books.
If they're going to make whole the buyer, then yeah.
Yeah,
I
100%.
guess. Ooh,
They
that's a
have
tough
to.
one. Oh,
I
man.
know they have to make whole the buyers. That is the first matter of business.
But this making
Full stop.
whole, is it what they paid or is it
It
what
should
it's
be.
worth now?
No, it should be what they paid. If the Nissan, well, I'm not going to use any examples. It should be what they paid because ultimately, I don't care. Like legal jargon aside, if you want to just go on semantics, these books were sent to CGC. CGC put their stamp on it, guaranteeing that this is what this book is. That is wrong. That is not on the buyer. That is on the seller legally. But I do think it falls into a gray area where CGC has to compensate the people what they paid. I don't know.
Grit Rust says,
Oh
turn them
God,
into
Josh,
trading cards. So, you know, the comic clippings, the comic cuts.
Yeah, there we
Yo,
go.
maybe that's how we got the AF-15 comic cut for
There we
that
go.
Spider-Man set last year. For our comic book friends that don't know, Upper Deck released a set called 2021 Spidey Metal, but they released it late in 2022. Upper Deck's a different story. We don't have any reason to get into that right now. But one of the prime achievements for that set was the cover of an Amazing Fantasy 15 cut up into 9 pieces. And to achieve it, you had to do an amazingly ridiculous thing that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to make happen. And then somebody did achieve it. And also interior pages of the AF-15 were cut up, framed as a card, and given out as inserts. And Justin, who's with us, Spidey Hits, we were doing a stream live, and a friend of ours, Alonzo Collectibles, Lewis, actually pulled an AF-15 clip cut live on a stream, and we lost our shit, completely lost our shit, because it's very cool. But yeah, they cut up an AF-15.
I want to speak to what Derek said because this is something I was thinking of too. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out that the dates don't match up on some of these books that they were. So he said, one thing I don't want lost in the sauce, there are some weird dates that show fraud books graded within days of selling on eBay or book graded within days of the fraud book.
No,
We need an
Reef, I do not.
explanation. We need an explanation. And I've seen this too, Derek. I found a couple that don't make sense myself. There's a lot of reholder scans that don't make sense, like the Gambit one that shows the old slab but doesn't show the new slab, and then new slabs from old submissions. Anyway, there definitely needs to be an investigation into why this is, because it's just very strange. And Binky, you're right. Like, I'm just not, you know, I don't know how the process of the law works, so I can't be like, well, I need to do this and this. But there needs to be an internal investigation of as to why some of these things don't match up. I believe in coincidence sometimes, but not in this case. It's too targeted to be anything coincidental. It just wouldn't, you know, coincidence doesn't work inside
There's no fucking coincidences here.
not in this.
Where there's smoke, there's an inferno. Words to live by. Really quickly, where was it? Oh, Reef, I've seen this be brought up elsewhere. Maybe it was you, I don't remember, but I want to address this here. My personal opinions, of course. Do you guys think that these scam serial numbers will be worth more now? No. This
No.
isn't some cool, weird thing that slipped through the cracks. It's literally books not worth as much as the cert number would suggest. There's nothing cool about that. Why would your 181 missing the Marvel value stamp become cool because it's part of this controversy now and be worth more than what it's supposed to be? Absolutely not. The books are not worth what the thing suggests. None of this is
No.
cool. None of this is going to be commemorated as that one time something amazing happened. This isn't that situation. If people want to look at the acetate books, those Ultimate Fallout 4s as cool, fine, whatever. You know, it's a different situation. This is just complete bullshit, these ones. It's not that sort of thing.
The only reason why I say destroy them is why keep them in the collectible space? Why have anybody have the chance? Like, why put them back out there? Why, you know, I mean, I get it with the regular books that are 9.4s that are actually in 9.8 slabs. You regrade
I
those,
mean,
but
destroy them is a little extreme, but if you're going to grade them appropriately afterwards and represent them correctly, they don't have to be destroyed. If you turn your incomplete into a green label noted as incomplete, yeah, I don't see the reason to destroy them. And it should be up to the person submitting the book for examination to decide, do they want to be compensated completely and then leave the book, you know, with CGC to do with what they wish, or do they want it to be graded and encapsulated appropriately and be compensated for the difference in value with the, you know, the downgrade that it's going to ultimately achieve. The destruction of the book, even when you said it, I was like, I don't know, but you know, yeah.
But you know, Bill said CGC won't sell books they grade, even those they buy back. It's entirely new scandal. It's just also giving it provenance that, oh, I own a book that this guy once scammed somebody with, you know? I don't like that. I just don't like I don't like, it's the same thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Reef says the acetate books are worth money. It's stupid. Those
That's why I
books,
said I brought that up as an example. There's
yeah,
actually still something like oddly, you know, cool about that fucked up mess. This is not like that, you know.
yeah.
That was like a gossip ridden, you know, one man against another man, someone stealing someone's wife, there was drama. Like that was like a real
Well,
popcorn sort of
it's
entertainment
also
fest.
a fucking cum rag of a book. Excuse my fucking
Yeah,
language.
no, the book sucks, but well, that particular book is ass ugly and it sucks,
Yeah.
you know, but this is just different. The nuance in this is different. This is literally like it's not what it says on the label at all. It's not that they stapled plastic to it and got a high grade. It's not what it is at all. Like there's no reason for this to be cool. The CGC scam pedigree. Now, if they damn it, guys, I didn't want
Here
this
we
to turn
go.
into a thing.
Descent into darkness. Here we go. I say cum rag and now CGC scam pedigree. I do want to say this real quick. Gut feeling, this is an isolated one.
Jay,
Seller.
this we not okay.
Do we think this is an isolated thing? I don't
No, are we
know.
stupid? No,
Yeah,
hold on.
like
Wait, what? Wait, what? What's an isolated thing? The scam that he was manipulating, maybe, but
him.
scamming in general, of course
No,
not. Fraudulent books,
him.
of course not.
Like he likely. Do you think he told close friends? No evidence, but 12 years, and he's the only one. I mean, look, you could look at it both ways. It's really hard to believe that only one person could pull this off. But I made that example when we were on last time. John Spano lied about being a millionaire and bought the New York Islanders, and no one caught on.
I still don't know what Dave's talking about when he says that, but I believe him.
One piece of shit. What was the quote that Derek Neiman was going to put on a hoodie? Oh, never underestimate the power of one piece of shit.
That's a quote right there, man.
Yeah.
That's a quote. All right, Reef, fine. It's a CGC scam pedigree now. The community has decided, okay?
Yeah, I mean, there are some lawyers on the CGC board that, you know, have chimed in, and you can wade through. It's at like 203 pages. But once again, I can also say, hey, look, I'm a lawyer and post on the internet. But
and I just want to say hi, Derek. I see you all the time, and I really appreciate how we've become closer because of this. Thank you, Derek.
Derek's awesome. It's like getting your first speeding ticket. It's not the first time you sped. It's just the first time you were caught. I mean, look, we all want to think, look, it's nice to think that not one person could be this fucking conniving and shitty. But if he had a system, which is clear what he did, when you look at his churn and burn, his eBay sales history and all this stuff, he just got greedy. And maybe it is. But I hope whatever comes of this, if there are more people involved, I hope they're all exposed and arrested, or whatever legal action that you can take. I don't know.
Vince above said, now that we're going to go over this again. I want to go over this again really quickly. Now that we know that the cases aren't tamper-proof, the videos now on how to do it, how can we trust any CGC book? The unfortunate thing is we have to be cautious. Like, I don't want to use the super negative words like suspicious, so on and so forth,
Sure.
but that just makes it unavoidably evident that we have to always investigate what we're purchasing. You cannot blindly trust. You can't live in this illusion that the third-party grading company is actually what it's supposed to be or what it says on their tagline. They're not. So you can't live in this illusion. You cannot be naive. There is no trust here. It is up to each individual to make the wisest decision they can. Trust me, the trust is not here. Why would you trust? There's nothing to trust here, okay? And if you want to trust, I was sent a video today where someone on YouTube was saying, yes, I trust CGC. I do not think that is a healthy stance. Like, you blindly trust a company that gets it wrong a lot? How could you? I'm not a big submitter. I don't submit thousands of books, 5 books a month sometimes. How come every submission has something wrong with it?
Well,
the numbers aren't good here.
And it depends on how much detail you look at. When you watch Maddie, our friend Maddie, Comics, when he does an unboxing, he's finding pieces of hairline fractures. He's finding, the quality control. He's pointing it out. So, no, you can't trust it. I mean, you have to trust yourself first before anything else. And you can't trust people outside. Anyway, DTA, Stone Cold said it. Charles Ponzi. Think about how much he impacted as one person. The Ponzi scheme was named after the man, Bernie Madoff. I don't know if he acted completely alone, but he was the guy running the thing, stole billions of dollars. So, we don't want to think that one person could do all of this damage, but it's very possible this one person did all of the damage. Not saying that other people haven't exploited that before. But in this case.
Yeah, Discovery Bay Comics. It's actually frightening when you start to think about it. But follow me here. Actually, let's think this through together. He says, "Are you saying we need to research serial numbers and picks for every book?" I actually agree. I'm paranoid, and if a slab is cracked, pass. But here's where it gets really scary. A lot of people are holding on to this idea that if you run the cert number in Go Collect or GPA and it only hits one sale, you're safe. That is bullshit, my friend. Because just because the previous sale of that cert number, where you can see a picture and it clearly has a different book in it, just because that doesn't happen, just because you don't have that detective experience, like, boom, I nailed it. I see the previous cert. This book's a scam. Just because that second hit doesn't occur does not mean your book is safe. That could just mean it was bought on a consignment page. It was bought at a convention. It was privately transacted. The only certs that hit are certs that are sold on reported sites, right? Your Heritage, your eBays, stuff like that. That is the least you can do. Other than that, you have to investigate the way it looks. You have to decide how much you trust what the seller is telling you about where it came from, its provenance or provenance or whatever. But that's the unfortunate thing here. Like, we want to try to find a way to find the silver lining, but this shit is going to get worse before it gets better. Just because the cert doesn't hit twice does not mean it's safe. But, chances are it is. I should also say that chances are the book is safe. But, like, I'm on the side of, I want to make absolutely sure, because these books are expensive.
Yeah, the thread is wild. So if you want to catch up on reading, there's a lot of bickering in the thread, but there's a lot of great information in that CGC thread. And once again, shout out to all those homies that were very big. And Comic Quiz is the person that, like I said, I communicated with a lot about this. But there's a lot going on in that thread. Leo said CGC is jacked up in cards. If to send thousands of Pokemon cards, tens okay. Yeah. Well, look. Once again, you trust the company. There's always going to be problems.
Who ran the clip? I think Neo ran the clip. I just want to run this by anyone that might not have seen it. I think it was Neo that ran the clip, and Neo is going to correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't Neo. I don't know. But let's just, for example's sake, on what Leo is saying, Leo and Neo. Oh, Chloe's Comics, Harvey, what up? Appreciate you. And so what's his name? The influencer, the two brothers, Logan Paul. Logan is the Charizard PSA 10 guy, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. One of the Paul brothers sent a Charizard card in. It got I think it's a Beckett 10, actually. Yeah, I think it's a BGS 10. But the point is, the original owner of the card, who's like this big Pokemon guy, I know I'm butchering the story, but people can follow. And he actually submitted that card previously to see if it would cross over as a 10, because it was slabbed from a different grading company. And he had submitted these to BGS to see if they would cross over, and none of them passed like the initial inspection to cross over. So he sold it to Logan. Logan submits the card and it gets the 10, you know? And obviously that's great for publicity. So you cannot deny the fact, well, you can't deny the possibility that this sort of like favoritism or whatever, you know, like what might look better in the public eye for press and stuff, that kind of thing probably does certainly happen. Keep it thorough, my man. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up?
We talked about you earlier. We'll continue to speak about you. Really enjoy your streams. Really enjoy your perspective. Just thank you for being honest, and thank you for all the love, man. Much respect, much love. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and echo what Manu said, and appreciate the work you put in on your video and videos. Flexipotamus said, "Is there anything to the thought that we should own some responsibility here? Clearly, this douchebag was scamming, but for any system to be safe, don't we have to collaborate with one company when we can?" I mean, that's a great point right there. I've got nothing to add. It just kind of sits where it is, and I like it. But Manu has something to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, on both sides of it, when there's accountability when buying, you know, if we buy something, we can't automatically say we have to set ourselves up to not be victimized, right? So there's accountability there. And then there's accountability, personal accountability in holding CGC accountable, not forgiving them too easily when we get screwed, not letting things just, you know, go away because we want to see brighter days again. Like, I can't stress enough, things have to become uncomfortable and for a while until things get happy-go-lucky again. But yes, accountability. Definitely.
And I can build upon that, not being silent about this, not being complacent, not accepting words instead of actions, or yes, those are the things that we can do as a community, as consumers, as collectors. If you keep talking about this, if we keep bringing it up, if we don't let it become the soup du jour, and we keep asking
I like when you say that. Sorry.
and we keep asking CGC, okay, what are you doing? What are your actions? What are we getting a new slab? Are we getting better imaging? Are we going to get a list of books that were affected by cert number? Are we going to find out who, not doxing, but were there other people involved in this? Was it affecting other books that we don't know about? Like, they could turn us around in how we feel about this whole thing if the actions match the words.
I actually know that reference, Andrew. I know that reference. It's so funny.
Hold on, I'll get down there. It is, Scott. It's always who you know. It's always who you know. So, hey, Derek Bishop in the house. I fucking love Derek.
What up? Yeah,
Derek is somebody, and I'll just say this. Derek, we're friends. We've been friends, but we feel like we've been friends for a long time, and I have not even met you yet, but we will one day. Yeehaw, motherfucker. 9.2 can be switched for a 9.8 easy. That can't trust companies now. Well, we gotta, the trust needs to be built back with action.
Absolutely right. And it's going to take time. Shit is not overnight. We can't just say, oh, you made a statement, we're so happy you said something. We got to see something.
Flexipotamus said maybe an open forum on their page for suspected scamming. Everyone can see the reports, so it'd have some guidelines. I mean, yeah, anything with transparency is a very helpful thing. But I would make it separate than the CGC forum, because that is the wild fucking West.
Maurice, you're absolutely right. The statement is a great start, and they exposed vulnerability, which I am pleasantly surprised to see. And there is going to be action. This is so significant that they cannot not take action. And if this was handled in the way that things have been handled previously, it didn't get awareness, it didn't spread like wildfire, nothing would have happened. This is not the first time some bullshit has come to light. It just gets covered up quietly. And unsuspecting people that don't realize it's happening never know shit. Look, ignorance is bliss, but it's also fucking ignorance. We don't want to be that.
No. And, you know, Ghost Sapper said, buy the book, not the grade. Too many people buy the grade and don't care. 100%. But also, read comics. That would also help you enjoy comics a little more. But hey, what do I know? Only this guy. All right. Big 90 Spec said, it's hard to look at CGC books as worth anything more than raw now. I mean, I understand the sentiment, but if you have a copy of AF-15 that looks like maybe it was never circulated, maybe it was under a bunch of books since 1961 or whatever, 62. And somebody's like, well, I'll give you $30,000 for it. But then if you sent it to Heritage and they got it graded and somebody gave you $300,000 for it, I mean, what are we going to choose? What? Most people are going to say, you know what? I could use $250,000.
But if the company was trusted, if the company was
I know,
legitimate,
I'm
that
just
makes
saying.
sense. No,
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In theory, that makes perfect sense. But the theory's fucking collapsed here.
It is collapsed. And look, I'll give you a little example, ruining a little bit of a video that I'll have coming up in a couple weeks. I bought that Amazing Spider-Man collection. Some of those books were probably never touched post 1960 something.
Okay.
The ASM 14 looks so good. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a big book. And if I were to have sold it raw, let's say the max I could, nobody's going to give me, if I tell them, look, this looks like a 9.0, nobody's going to give me $20,000 for it. But in that slab, they will. And you know what? That shit's coming back a 9.2. So it's better than I thought. And so it's just, look, if the playing field was level and we were all selling raw books, it wouldn't matter. But as somebody that does this for a living, I can't just let the other guy take my money. It doesn't work like that.
You also have provenance here, right?
Yeah.
You are the handler, submitter of the book. You have pictures of it raw in your possession. You know where you bought it from. Your book comes with a certificate of actual authenticity, and I can respect that. And that's the thing, like the people that do this, run a tight ship, they're going to be okay here. They're going to have certain ways to determine whether their books are the ones that you should be buying or not.
It's just, and look, once again, for personal reasons, I don't really love CGC books. They're not my thing. But what if you're going to bring that counterpoint up, like, oh, we shouldn't grade books or whatever, what would you have me do? Not make them, like, that's the thing. There's no way for me to convince somebody like this is going to be what this grade is within at least a somewhat margin. Pay me what the graded price. It's just not going to happen. Scott Talmadge brings up the Jason Ewart scandal, which I don't remember when it happened, but I do know about it. And he was a big time dealer, I guess. But it's another scandal that rocked the graded comics world, but I don't know enough about it to speak on it.
Let's I want to pull up Bill's. Bill, the thing is, like, I'm happy to hear things like this, and I'll give some anecdotal experiences of my own. But he says the theory, because a moment ago I said the theory is collapsed, right? And he goes, the theory hasn't collapsed. Books selling on eBay tonight in CGC 9.8 are going for more than raw near mints. That makes sense. The gap isn't any different than it was last month. Maybe it will change, but it hasn't yet. And I think, so I'm happy to hear that. And obviously, I watch auctions. I see what's selling and what's not. And, just because the price is down this week from last week, I can't even blame it on the scandal. The market's been kind of in a downward trend for something. So I wouldn't even be able to connect those two dots perfectly, seamlessly. And, and then you say maybe it will change, but it hasn't yet. I love that you're open to the possibility that, maybe this does add a little additional downward pressure, because I think as intelligent people, we just have to say it's a possibility that it does, And when I say that the theory is collapsed, it's unavoidable for me that we don't have a grading company listen, I don't think you should blindly trust in anything, but damn it, I would love to be able to not have to think about it.
Sure. I mean,
I would really love that peace of mind that they were supposed to be in existence to provide.
Look, I've been paying taxes for 20 plus years. I would like to think that without me thinking about it, that my tax dollars are going to pay for my healthcare, but they don't.
Another, yeah, you know. So, but Bill, I love that, and I'll say this as well. We have James is with us, Dorfler's with us. He recently sold. This guy is bold, man. He recently sold a Secret Wars 898 Mark Jewelers. Now, you know, you could read his posts and read his listing about where the book came from, where he got it from. He's quite confident that he bought it from the original grader, single owner book, and he was connecting those dots, and people had the evidence that they needed to bid on this book. Now, this book might have gone for 13 or 14 grand last week, but it didn't do poorly. I believe it sold, I might be wrong, but I believe it sold for $9,700. This is an auction that ended yesterday or the night
Yeah,
before.
it was. I
You
think it
know,
was 2 nights ago.
with the evidence that James provided and the listing, you know, with that listing to accompany the listing to provide that sort of security, 9,608, James saying, congratulations on the sale as well. And with what he provided to make it feel better for the potential buyers, it did well. You know, that's 10 grand for a Mark Jewelers. And there's a lot of people that would say that's crazy, but no, that's a real sale. And that's a real sale with all this shit piled on it. So there's one for Mark Jewelers, you know, like that's cool.
I'm loving some of the amazing autocorrects that people's phones are doing. Borat, slaves, all these things. Yeah, the scam that Jason Earwart, he was trimming books, not just the bottom, top sides, and he got them blue labeled. And yeah, I mean it's
Oh, the guy that was doing the micro trimming, like I recently
yeah,
heard about this.
it's
Yeah, and he
just
got
I
away for a
mean
long time.
it's terrible. It does break it breaks people's spirits that are looking to buy these books and getting ripped off. I mean, uh it's a double-edged sword, you know. Not saying CGC always gets it right, but how is the average collector supposed to detect micro trimming, conservation, married covers and pages, right? Like that's what we're hoping that they're doing, and looking out for the books, not
Yeah.
the person, but at least the books. And you know, how is someone with full confidence pay 5 times for a 9/8 and 9/6 modern book after this? That I, you know, and that's a tough one. Like confidence is going to be down, I think. Uh,
You do have the option to send me the book for a reasonable fee. I'll inspect it and let you know if you should buy it or not.
I mean, look, that's actually very, very much something that you could do, but I know that's too much, and you won't be
Oh, it's
doing
too,
it.
the books being
Mm,
shipped back and forth are
yeah,
risky in
it
itself.
was too risky.
It's not,
Um,
yeah, it's not.
yeah. Uh, Buyer was aware of the scandal and asked for side picture showing the cert. I mean, James, you did good with that. You were very
Yeah, dude.
transparent about it. So
Absolutely. Oh, funny enough, and now I don't know if I'm supposed to be putting a spotlight on this because I have no idea where this book came from. Um, there is a 266 Mark Jewelers 9/8 that just hit eBay today.
oh my god.
Probably legit. Like I said, I didn't investigate it. I didn't look
Well,
into it.
it also it also
I
goes
just
to
saw it and I
show
was like, that's funny.
it also goes to show that Neo was probably right, or leaning towards right, that maybe most people do not know about this, or a lot of, I should say not most, a lot of people. Remember, we're still a micro bubble within a bigger space of comic collecting. Um,
Yeah.
millions and millions of dollars of books sell on eBay every single year, and it's anonymous. We don't know who bought them. We might know who the seller is, but on the outside, we don't know who the buyer is. So, um, well, I appreciate it, Thorough. And once again, you know, I got no skin in the game. Like I'm not going to be threatened if I speak out against CGC.
Can I
Um,
read that comment, please?
yeah. Like it's not going to destroy my business. I sell, I don't know, 85% raw books on a weekly basis. All right, you.
I'm gonna read it out loud. Yeah. Gotta commend both Davengers. This is coming from Keep It Thorough. Gotta commend both Davengers and 9.9 for saying something against CGC, knowing the consequences of being shadow banned by them. And there's a lot that I can say to this. First, just thank you. I just firmly believe when you're on the right side of something, you're protected. Like I know, you know, I just firmly believe being on the right side of something and not letting those like, you know, pats on the backs or relationships or, you know, climbing the ladder make you keep your damn mouth shut. I believe in being successful on your own merit. I believe in being someone that provides value so that you build relationships based on value that you could provide, not relationships based on, you know, someone making you feel good because they're in a position of authority or clout or some nonsense
Yeah.
like that, right? I have friends that won't say shit because they don't want to ruin their relationship with CGC. I'm built on my own, and I'm always going to defend the people. I'm going to defend myself as a collector before I pretend any accolade or any nice message from a company is what I'm doing this for. And so, yeah, there's always obviously that, like, I'm not afraid to burn the bridge if I'm on the right side of it. That's all that is. And I
All
think
right, boy.
CGC completely knows that.
All right, boys, we got him. Come on, let's get him. CGC's coming in. Burr, burr, burr. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
no,
Just
I
kidding.
I actually like what I really like what I just
No, it
said.
was
Sorry,
good. I'm sorry I
self-congratulatory.
ruined it.
I'm not. Yeah, you ruined it, Dave. I'm not
It's my
afraid of
channel.
being on the. I'm not afraid of burning the bridge if I'm on the right side of it. I like that. I'm probably going to write that down in a second. But anyway, I just appreciate, and you too. Keep it thorough. You too. You know, you speak your mind. You're coming from a very intellectual perspective. I know a lot of people don't like to hear some of this stuff, but we're coming from a good place, man. And the truth is the truth. And at the end of the day, we can't just pretend it's not happening.
I can speak for both of us that there was no hesitancy. When Manu called me up and we figured this out, there was no hesitancy. I was like, dude, we have to go live. We have to talk about this. This is
And
not.
you know, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I had a moment of hesitancy when I first posted this story that said I just learned something. It wasn't even a feed post. I said I just learned something. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this information, but it's fucked up. And you know, overnight I decided, no, I can't keep this shit to myself. And that was that. You know, it was the right thing to do. So that's it, man.
And with that, I would just like to say, who wants to buy some mystery boxes? No, what I want to say on my part is that I can stand by Manu. I can stand by him because I know everything and I know what the type of person he is, just like the type of person I am. So, you know, it does kind of go into, you know, you do have to trust who you're buying your books from when you're spending a lot of money. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about when you walk into your LCS and you pick up your weekly books, you know, or you're going through the back bins because you can see those books. You can hold them before you hand your money over. You can inspect the shit out of them. But the fact is that the cold hard facts are we mostly are buying books these days through the internet, whether it's on eBay, whether it's in claim sales, whether it's whatever. And that's where the trust part comes in when you're buying books. The trust part with CGC, they have to earn their trust with us again and again. But when it comes
100%.
to you're buying books from a seller, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a seller. I am saying this partially because yes, every Wednesday I have a sale live on this channel. But I have relationships with people all over the country that sell books and that buy books. And it is very, very important that you understand who you're buying from. Now, with eBay, it's a little bit different. Nobody knew that this dude was this dude. But as we found out with Manu, and as Manu found out himself, the trust he already, like when he started talking to this guy, he told me that there was something up. And
Yeah.
obviously, the further you dug, look at what happened.
Yeah.
Fucking you hit gold, except it was all fool's gold.
Ooh, you are a poet, my friend. A fucking poet. You know, and through all of this, two things I want to say. One thing I haven't said, one thing I've said several times, and I'll say it again. I like third-party grading, but I need it to be what it's supposed to be. You know, right now it's an illusion and it's broken. So I like it for what it's supposed to be. Hopefully we can get there. The other thing I want to say, this doesn't doom comic books. You know,
No, it does not.
this is
Not at
about
all.
the credibility of graded stuff.
Yeah.
Comic books are comic books. We can still buy them, read them, collect them, hunt them, trade them, all of that. This is about encapsulated stuff. You know, this does not doom comic books. This is just an eye opener for CGC, who is a monopoly in ways, and monopolies are not healthy because they have too much power and a bunch of other stuff. I saw my name here. Reef said Manu should get the Nobel Peace Prize for comics collecting. my guy. Thank you.
I mean,
Oh,
look,
shoot. He says it does actually doom modern books. I think Harris, elaborate on that. Why would this doom modern books?
he said something. The scandal exposes the modern books for what they really are, basically expensive toys. I mean, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion on Mark Jewelers and stuff. I still enjoy the history of them, and that's why I enjoy them. But
Are these Mark Jewelers from the 80s and 90s being considered modern? I know we still call copper modern, but it's 30
yeah,
some odd
they're
years
not.
ago.
I'm 43 years old. I was born in 1979. Books that came out 4 or 5 years after I was born are not new or modern. I would not consider them. I don't think most people do, but I'm sure Harris will. Yeah, I don't know.
I love what Keep It Thorough said. He said back in the day, CGC. Oh, brother, I screen recorded something you said yesterday because I was watching your stream and I wanted Dave to see it. And
Mhm.
I sent him that bit, right? And you were spot on. But he says back in the day, CGC and their forum cronies would demolish anyone out of existence if they spoke up about anything related to CGC, and that might have happened. And maybe that will still happen today, but that's why it's so important to release those videos that are so cringeworthy that people don't want to see. No one wants to believe how easily these cases can be tampered with. But when you put the proof out there so clear, no one can defend CGC, the cases at least, right? So it's so important for the voices to speak up. It's so important for us to not be accepting of mistreatment, and that will. I think that's why this might have changed. You know, I think it's like you said, the internet news travels more now. People are speaking up now, and I hope we continue to. There's nothing for us to be scared of. We're fighting for what's right. And yeah, if the CGC cronies want to try to demolish someone, I think they're going to have a tough fight on their hands because there's a lot of people coming out in support of the right thing.
I want to give shout out to Steve, Southwest Mark Jeweler King, who I started writing that on the shipping labels. But Steve's a former service member,
Thank you.
and I know a bunch. We all know a bunch of service members that actually enjoy the history of Mark Jewelers. And look, it's a personal preference. That's all. You know, some people like getting kicked in the balls by a dominatrix. It's a personal preference. That's all.
Yeah.
I
Dave,
like
don't tell
using.
people about my phone calls with you.
Um, so here, I want to just I'll get a little bit of the dates wrong last pack magic, but Golden Age is 30 or World War II through like 50. I don't know
Mattis, hello.
what year in the 50s, and then 60 or 59 on to basically the end of the first Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil, Green Lantern, Green Arrow book, or Conan 1 is the beginning of the Bronze Age. And then I look at Copper, I think Copper is like 83 through 89, 90. And then after that, it's modern. And I think we should designate 2000 and on to ultra modern. But yeah, that, you know,
Oh,
it's
shoot. I didn't see this one comment. I'm going to get in this one comment.
I'm gonna get in. Okay, so Reef said bronze 69 to 78, then copper to 95 and 96. So, you know, it's debatable in the years, but it's really not debatable infinitely.
Right. Okay, so maybe this is the wrong thing for me to be reading. Let me see. The Meanster. Oh, I already
Where am
know I'm
I?
getting myself into something.
Where am I looking?
It's like 50 comments up. I don't know. But it says, I'm going to read it anyway.
Yeah, this is the one that I was talking about. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay, I was somewhere else. This is what we get for chasing those. At least he said we. Okay, so you're not attacking. Okay, this is what we get for chasing those Mark Jewelers in the first place. Who gives a fuck? Mine has an ad in the ring and yours doesn't. Fuck newsstands. I think that shit looks ugly. So I like that. So yeah, so the barcode, now I love it, but you know how that works, right? Like it became a brand. I love it. It represents something to me. It's the one that was mistreated at first, and now it's sought after because it was neglected, so on and so forth, right? You know the get down.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. The additional piece of art certainly is more desirable than a bunch of lines. To me, not. I love the barcode. I especially like it when it looks like completely out of place. Like on a Wizard #1 newsstand, this barcode looks mechanical and weird, you know, and
Yeah.
it's kind of charming to me for some reason. But and the Mark Jewelers thing, like I've heard several people say, like, what? You're paying a premium for a jewelry ad? Well, it's not that simple. No one's actually paying a premium for a piece of paper. None of this is about the piece of paper. This is about the challenge of hunting it. This
Sure.
is about
I love the hunt.
it's the hunt. You know, it's like, okay, I nailed the highest grade of whatever book. What's harder? CPV. Okay, I nailed it. I got a 9.8 of a CPV. What else? Let me find a Mark Julius. It's about making the challenge, making it more challenging for yourself, right? Because some of us love the pursuit of something that's rare, and some might regard it impossible to find. Now, with that difficulty comes an increase in value. But also on top of that, the sentiment shared by one of our friends, Southwest Mark Jeweler King, is there's an emotional tie-in with this as well. You know, the fact that it came from the military base, what it symbolizes, its significance, the travels that book might have gone through, you know, all of that kind of adds into it. So the ad in itself, worthless, nothingness, if you're just looking at it in its most stripped down form. But all of those things piled on top of it, and then the community over the years saying, yep, that makes sense, is what kind of cements it. And I'm here for all of that, but I also understand where you're coming from. And I love that you started that with the we, which is why I know
Instead
we're
of,
not fighting.
yeah.
We're just having a discussion.
Let me add a couple of things onto it before I get to Wilbert's comment and a couple others. I'm an adventurer. I'm like the Indiana Jones of fucking comic books. I go to other countries to hunt comics. I go to other states to hunt comics. It's what I love. And the Mark Jeweler thing, living in the Washington area, just adds to it. It's fun for me. Do I care about the ad? No. Do I find the history interesting? Oh, hell yeah. I find a lot of things about comic book history interesting. And so that I just wanted to add that. Wilbert, this is a bad look for CGC, but what would really be scandalous if it's revealed that CGC knew about a scam for a long time and attempted to sweep it under the rug? 100% the cover up is always worse. And I hope that's not the case, Wilbert. And I hope if it is, we find out.
Well, whether it is or is not, I don't
know.
think we will find out.
No.
What's most important is, though, there's no opportunity for it to be swept under the rug now because we made it too public. We spread it. We're going to continue to spread it. Listen, we're going to get exhausted of this. We're going to get tired of this. We want to talk about something optimistic and uplifting, and we're going to blend some of that in. But this is too important to let go. Literally, it's what we spend our money on. Someone mentioned collecting 35-cent variants. I just want to say that I got my first 30-cent variant.
There you go.
Never had one of these before.
And the Meanster mentioned the pre-1985 Direct. I actually love the fact that those are still a niche thing, because I understand, you know, I know that the print run of those were lower and that they're a little bit, you know, that era's a little bit, they're more scarce, and, you know, and I like that. I like the little intricacies. That's the thing about collecting. You can get an overview. You can be a casual collector, or you can just go in and go niche. And it satisfies the personality traits that we all have.
Soul collect. Soul, what up, my man? He
What
said,
up,
Mark
Soul?
Jewelers 311 pump that thing.
Derek said, Manu, you should get a barcode tattoo like the edgy goth kids in the 90s, right on the back of your neck.
I kind of want it here, though.
No, don't do that.
Oh, dang.
If you want me to school you why, it's extremely insensitive to anybody that survived the Holocaust.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
yeah,
please.
If you're doing the lines, but with the numbers, yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I know. So that's why I told you.
I'm with you. Yeah. Respect, man.
I had a lot of experience with a woman that was a Holocaust survivor when I was in high school. No, not that kind of experience, you sick fuck. Hunt 35-cent variants. CGC misses them all the time, and yeah, you know what? I miss them all the time too. I never look at the price.
I only just found out that Star Wars 1 35-cent variant is astronomically rare and expensive. Like, I didn't even know that.
Matt, I 100% agree with you. The preservation of a slab seems very appealing.
I love it. I just want to trust the process. That's all. Yeah. You know, what is Beetlejuice saying? There's a nice long comment here.
Hey, Dave and Manu, sorry for joining late. Have there been any lists done by CGC to see what books have been tampered? No, nothing official that I have seen at all, and nothing that has been shared in a official capacity.
Yeah, and we could imagine it's going to take some time, and we could imagine it's going to be an ongoing rollout of things.
I got to answer this. Alucard said, Dave, I saw you looking in your last video for the Mark Jewelers, which is true. I hunt for them at comic stores. You just basically look at the top of a book. And let me.
That's one of the ways
here, but yes, you can see if there's a color strip here. But there are certain cases where it is not a Mark Jeweler. A lot of DC books had color inserts on newsstand books.
DC. What are you?
Yeah,
Who does
DC.
that? I'm just playing. I'm just joking.
Listen,
No, I'm just
you
teasing.
marvelous,
Yeah.
magnificent bastard. All about the hunt. That's right, swag.
Swaggle.
All right, we
Absolutely.
talked about this. I bought 9 long box collection a few months back. I love them. If anybody has any raw McFarlane Mark Jewelers, you've got your buyer right here. I don't need them to be
Absolutely.
high grade. They are PC books for me. I see girls with barcodes on their arms. Well, not everybody is smart or has taste. I don't think CGC knew before you all broke that. Yeah, I mean, Bill, I assume, but there's no way to know. Let's call 80s to 2000 comics brass age, and
Well, I
then
know people have reported
I like that.
tampered slabs. I know that's been reported, but I don't know if they knew that the reholder system was being taken advantage of. So, you might be right in that regard, which just makes me even more proud of us for bringing that to light. We literally got them to acknowledge it and make a statement. It's a huge
Sure.
first step. That's not something that happens.
Oh, hello, Sean, and thank you once again. A big shout out to Sean, Anti Pop Culture, who sent.
Yo,
I got 2 gifts from 2 separate people today that were Jaws related in the mail. Fucking amazing.
is
Uh,
CGC? Oh, sorry.
no. I was just looking. I do get good at looking for them. I have hunted books with friends that are like, "How the fuck do you find Mark Jewelers that quick?" I'm like, "I'm a
La-
hound."
Last Pack Magic. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for being here. Is CGC the only company for grading books? Well, they're quite frankly, there are only 2. There is a third and there is a fourth. But like I said, quite frankly, there are only 2. CGC is the top, and then CBCS is second. And CBCS is owned by a company that's well known in card grading. It's owned by Beckett.
Mhm.
Their infrastructure is not that great. The business isn't run that well. And so we don't have a very solid alternative. One of the reasons is right now, if you submit to CBCS, you're probably going to do fine. You're going to get a new case, so on and so forth. But if the people submitting to CGC shifted over to CBCS, they would not be able to handle it, not in the least. We do not have an alternative that operates at the same level or commands the same value on the market. The value is going to be up to the community to make that shift. And over time that could happen, but it's up to CBCS to build a business that can handle more people submitting books, because we don't want to see the same thing happen there that happened at CGC, where when they got an influx of books because of the pandemic, well, grading went to shit, turnaround times went to shit, and here we are today.
You know, this scandal, this whole thing does kind of say, well, maybe collectors should get a little bit more savvier, a little more knowledge, and start buying raw and then grade if they want. It's definitely a smarter way to go. You can
And
flip
it's
through
more
that book.
fun.
It is more fun. Of course it is, because then you get a win if you win. But it
Yeah.
can also be heartbreaking if you overestimate. But yeah, why not crack your Hulk 181s? Check. You can always reslab it. But
Mattis just did that. Mattis just 9-8'd a Newsstand that he bought raw, had
that's
confidence
right.
that it was going to, be what it was supposed to be, and congratulations. And
Yeah.
not a shabby book either.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. And you're a good dude, and I'm you're one of the people that I refer to when I say there were a lot of people that are affected by this and friends of ours. And
Yeah.
when people are like, "Oh, nobody's come forward." Well, there's one of the people right there in the chat that bought 2 big books that came from this person,
Yeah.
unknowingly that came from this person.
And and some of the people have come forward. Well, they haven't come forward publicly because they weren't comfortable doing that. And they are speaking to, the places they purchased the books from, or directly with CGC. So I do know a lot of people that haven't come public, but are at least not just saying, "Oh, fuck it, I'll get over it," that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Horvath. I know my Hulk 181 is fine. It's already a green label. Yeah, you know what? You can go wrong. Obviously, there's always room for error in everything under the sun, but you can mostly not go wrong if you buy raw and then grade. If you want graded books, I mean, you know,
Look at
uh,
that.
yeah,
Shortbox annual sales summary. Shortbox is a selling app located in well, anyway. 96% CGC,
Oh yeah,
4% CBCS.
CBC.
Man, the market determines
And
that.
you know what? Can somebody explain to me
Oh
why
yes, tie, it does. I'm going to get to that in a second, please.
CBCS has always been the sad little three-legged dog that's trailing behind? Like, I I didn't grade a lot of books for a long time. I just collected comics and I sold comics, but uh, what's the history of it?
Well, CGC
Why?
came first,
Yeah,
right?
that I
There
know.
were, and
But back
then the co-founder, Steve Borak, who I don't know him personally, but I'm a fan of what
sure,
I do know of him. They parted ways for whatever reason. Something happened, and he started CBCS. So you had first mover advantage, if you will. CGC had already
sure.
started establishing their brand, and over time, I wasn't around while this was all happening. Like I wasn't in the community while this was all happening. But it would appear that CGC did a better job of keeping that foothold that they had and branding. They just did a
Yeah.
better job of marketing, and their marketing is better now than it was 2 years ago. I
Mhm.
don't, but the marketing is doing what the marketing's supposed to do. But what marketing does is it makes you think that everything is as it appears on the surface. That's
Of
what good
course, that's the
marketing
point of
is.
marketing, yeah.
Yeah.
Do I still consider look, that Harris, I'm the wrong person to ask about that because as we explored over 19 episodes of our podcast, that I look at comics as basically everything but an investment. I look at it as a art, storytelling medium, something I love, and it happens to be partial investment.
Now
That is
ask
the
me. Now ask me.
well, you can I don't need to ask you. You talk.
No, I mean, I share a lot of the same sentiments, but yeah, there are certain books that I absolutely consider investments, and they are very difficult to find, and they're already expensive, and there's a reason that I consider them investment. Do I blanket statement comic books as an investment? Fuck no. The same
Yeah.
way I wouldn't blanket statement cars as an investment or watches. Are there certain ones that absolutely are? Absolutely.
I've moved on to something that I do think is an investment, which is a market that has been, far beyond comic books, is art. And I've been not just buying original art, I've been gobbling it up. And,
He has been.
a lot of that is an investment. And I do love it for the art purposes, but I do recognize something that I pay $4,000 for today will most likely be worth $10,000 in a couple of years.
I don't think buying a bunch of modern books because you're betting on a spec is investment. That's just having a
It's a
good
bad
time. And
idea.
you have to be it's just a bad idea if you're hoping that it hits. If it hits, you have a good time selling. If it doesn't hit, you have a good time saying you missed. If you look at it like that, it's just a good time. That's not investment. Don't consider yourself a day trader or consider yourself whatever you want. I speak for myself. I wouldn't consider myself some sort of savvy day trader from just buying a bunch of books hoping that some actor appears somewhere. That's shit is just for fun. Unless you're going to sell thousands of them and actually, make some money. But Chloe Comics Swag said here, Harvey, hello. He says certain comics are investments. Period.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Does the
MJ
rehold
Comics from UK, what up?
What's up? Does the reholder scam impact the census as far as much? Yeah, I mean, clearly it does because
Yeah.
these books aren't what they are on the census,
Well,
even though
well,
that
for everyone that was reholdered, there is
there's
now
a
the
fake
donor
version of
copy
it. Yeah,
is still on the census, but that slab has been opened. That book has been taken out and regraded. Oh,
yeah.
actually, if you think of, yeah, that's true. So that original, oh, actually, no, that's a good question because that cert gets updated with whatever he decides to tell CGC to update it to. So that cert is not duplicated in CGC census. It actually might not disrupt the census. I
Well, it
hadn't thought that
disrupts
through
the
yet. That's
census
interesting.
as in that these 9/8s aren't actually 9/8s. So
Oh,
in that way, it does.
that's absolutely right. And we did reflect on that, right? If there's a bunch of Mark Jewelers 9/8s out that aren't actually 9.8s, the book is still more rare than it seemed recently because so many came to market. Yeah,
The census has at least 5 proven blue label Hulk 181s that are not blue labels. So
correct.
And also the
Right.
other thing I was thinking, and I think this is probably what he did, instead of selling the donor copy, he would just do it all over again and over. He has 198 that he just keeps using to duplicate more 9/8s. It's not, oh, I'll buy another 9/8 to duplicate a 9/8. It's no, I'll just regrade this and then buy another one, crack it out, regrade it, buy another one. And that 9/8, the one that's actually a 9/8, stays with him the whole
Well,
time.
actually, I have the evidence of him selling a few of the actual ones, but what you're saying
Oh,
still could be the
yeah,
case. He
yeah.
could regrade it and be like, well, now I got a fresh 9.8 to start. I don't
Yep,
have to buy one. So you're
yep.
right. He could do that. CBCS overgrades modern 9.8s. The market agrees. And that might be really true. I don't have any experience with modern CBCS 9.8s, but
Yeah,
I would, I would, I would trust James for saying so.
yeah. But I say we get to wrapping it up. We're on 2 hours and 15 minutes, but give it
Oh,
another.
shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to just let everybody, if there's any other questions that we haven't touched on or any suggestions that we haven't brought up, feel free to throw something in the chat. Um,
I normally don't request this, but a friend of ours, is it Alucard? Alucard? Is it
Alucard.
like
Yeah, it's
Alucard?
Dracula backwards.
Oh my gosh, it is. That's
Alucard.
amazing. I'm hella happy that you said that. 115 people in the house, he says. Help Dave and 9.9 with a like. I do not ask for this sort of thing, but truly, I would appreciate it. And thank you so much for bringing that up. So, yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind just hitting that thing, because that way, this information will travel further. And that is the reason why we're doing it. So, that would be really appreciated.
And also just a shameless plug. Dropped a interview with Eric Larson a couple weeks ago, and would love for as many people to watch it as they can. It's a 2-hour interview with one of the most important figures in comics in modern or copper history.
Damn, Joe, that's dope. Joe said he's been listening in 2 times speed to catch up, and he's caught up now. That's awesome. Thank you.
Joe, I hope you're well, my brother. Would a new hermetically sealed acrylic dipped scanned RFD slab fix this problem? I like a Providence idea as well. I mean, look, something that, especially for the high value books, that really puts, the not, it's not going to ever be foolproof, but let's say call it 99.9%, something that can be undisputably checked. Be like, yes, this is the book it says it is in the condition it says it is.
Keep it thorough says, and very rightly,
Mhm.
CGC census has been disrupted since the early 2000s. Too many books regraded when print became a thing and
When pressing, right, and meant to be
when
CK
pressing
pressing.
became a
Yeah.
thing and labels never resubmitted. And now I want to say, dude, I'm part of that problem. I have a stack of labels here. And where do those labels come from? Books that I cracked out
Yeah.
and sent back in to get a higher grade after pressing and cleaning. And yes, the census is absolutely, for some books more than others, not accurate, and there's like, for instance, there are books that only have like 5 or 6 books on the census,
Yeah.
and I actually recently turned one of the 9.2s into a 9.6. That is a super important book for me to give them that
Of
slip back and say,
course.
remove this 9.2. And I
Right.
have yet to do so.
It's a selling point. Like, oh, this is the highest one on the census, and there's only 3 more, I do want to touch on what Flexipotamus said. Isn't art
Dr. Plagas, thank you so
Plagueis?
much. Plagas,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Flexipotamus said, isn't art really susceptible to fraud, or is it balanced by the extreme rarity in the transactions taking place in person between very knowledgeable people? Obviously, art, um, historically has been something that has been trading. Frauds have been made up with comic art. I'm sure there is, but it would be kind of easy to spot. It's people don't just flex Jack Kirby pages and be like, look at one's eye. Like, there are certain pages that don't exist anymore. But then if somebody tries to sell you, let's say, a Spawn 1 page, we all know that Todd has all those pages. They don't. The person, so there is a little bit of it, a little bit of both of what you're saying. But fraud is going to be in everything in collectibles at some point. But comic art's a little bit easy with the comic CAF, the Comic Art Fans website, because
Vinny, good night. Thank you so much
people
for being here.
people build a database. And this is another thing that I would love to see all of the selling platforms do from now on. You cannot, I would love to see them have a rule. If you do not put the cert number in with the sale, you do not get a chance to sell it. Like, you cannot sell a book now without putting the cert number in. And what I'd love to see, and maybe a third party company that is not CGC, builds a database every time one of those books changes hands, it doesn't matter how much it's sold for, GPA in those places, we just want to know when it changed hands. If there was a trackable history, I know there's tax purposes, so we just say that this is a website where you can track where this book has changed hands.
Yeah.
That would be a helpful tool, because then we could track, oh, this person had this book on June 29th, 2022, and then it got reholdered and it went back to this person or whatever, like tracking through cert numbers would be an interesting way. But Flex, yeah, with original art, Heritage is not a bad place to buy that, because they are looking at every piece that comes in. And then there's obviously the reps, the big reps, Ramita Man, there's Cadence, there's Felix, there's a lot of, but do your research before you spend big money.
Are
Don't
you
be like
naming
me.
your friends at the auction house?
No, these are art reps. I like the idea of RF in the inner and outer, something hidden, something to make sure you can't do this. 5 credits. There you go. 5 credits for every return label. The secret senses. I love you, Dan. I love you, man.
Listen, this isn't something that I had planned on doing. It's not even a comic book, but we've been on for a while. We still have over 100 people with us. Vinny, if you're still here, get into this. I know not all comic book people are card people, and I'd like to give away a card. Just before we go, let's just do a nice giveaway. Someone's going to win something. It's not the funny thing about this card is in 2021, it was worth about $1,000. Since then, a couple hundred have been graded, and now it's worth probably like $60, but it's still free and it's still awesome. So it's a 1990 MU PSA 10 of Black Suit Spidey, one of my favorite cards, one of the best things. So all of my comic book friends here and card friends, if you wouldn't mind doing, what do you want to hashtag what? Hashtag card, a little bit of love for cards. Hashtag card. We'll start opening up the collecting thing about it. Whoever wins, just DM me and I'll ship it to you. You could win it anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are. It's probably going to cost me more to ship it than it's worth if you're somewhere, but I'll deal with that myself. So hashtag card, everyone. Let's get a bunch of those in here, please. Thank you. PSA 10, 1990 MU, sick card.
Grid City Josh calls it Manu is such a bro, which I know he means that in a good way. But if somebody calls me a bro, I just immediately want to bite their head off.
I appreciate that, my man.
The worst thing
I wrote hashtag bro. I was gonna.
You could shake my hand and say, "What's up, asshole?" But if you say, "What's up, bro?" I'm like, "Oh man, I don't like you already."
I don't know if capitalization affects it, but
it doesn't.
Okay. Hashtag card, everyone. Let's get these in here. Come on, let's have somebody win maybe their first graded card.
Yeah,
more encapsulated stuff. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Out of left field question: do you guys think crowdfunded comics can ever become valuable? Some of these creators, Ty, I think it depends on what it is. I mean, I've supported a bunch of Kickstarters with a whole and gotten some crowdfunded comics. It's a scarcity thing. Because Ty, when you think about it, let's just say, for example, we'll take James Tynion. Let's say James Tynion started his career by doing a Kickstarter comic. He's become this huge writer, and that Kickstarter comic is one of his most sought after stories because it's a great book, whatever. Only the people that bought it on the Kickstarter got that book. There is definitely some value into scarcity on something like that. Oh, it's okay, Josh. I'm just fucking with you. You know I love you. Josh is one of my real life. He's one of my real life friends. We get food a lot. We hang out. He's a neighbor and also a badass seller. If you're in the Seattle area and you see or Tacoma area and you see Grit City Russ set up at a vintage market with his t-shirts and his comics, buy stuff from him because he's awesome.
I support that message. Absolutely. Hashtag card, guys. Come on. Hashtag
All right. So let's see. We've got 41 entries out of 111 possible people. Come on, let's go.
I know there's people that don't want us to know they're watching, but guys, what's it matter if you're watching anyway? Win yourself a card. Hashtag card. Let's get this up to like at least 55 or 60 entries. Come on. Someone should.
Josh, hit me up tomorrow. I'll buy you a fucking slice of pizza. It's like that graphic fantasy self-published. Yeah. Eric Larson self-published his first comic with the first appearance of Savage Dragon. 500 copies exist. That book is worth a minimum of $3,000 raw.
If we saw CGC handle say hashtag card, I wasn't listening at all. But if CGC if it just said CGC Comics hashtag card, that'd be funny. What if it said someone wrote Breva. What if it
Yeah.
said Breva 3 hashtag comics?
Where's Todd McFarlane? Is he watching? Come on, Todd. All right, we got 45 entries, people. If we don't get to 50, I'm not giving this card away. I will stop the card from being given away. Hashtag card. Let's go.
Hashtag card. Hashtag
Come on, we need
card.
5 more entries. Otherwise, I'm going to go get Comic Tim, and he's going to strip naked.
No, you know what? The hell with it. The odds are better for people running.
All right, fine. All right, let me know
Good
when you
luck,
want me to
everyone.
hit that button.
Hit that button.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Whoa, man. Wait, you entered? How can you
Of course,
enter?
I did it. I did it.
A lot of people are driving. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, Daniel
Daniel Castro,
won.
congrats.
Hell yeah. Congrats, Daniel.
Wait, we know Daniel? Do we know?
Yeah,
him?
he's been in pretty much every one of my sales for the last, I don't know, year
Sweet,
or
man.
change.
Congratulations.
He's a
Or,
Davengerino.
not congrats. Thank you is what I prefer to say. And so please do DM me and let's get in touch on
Yeah.
Instagram.
And I can always give you a shipping address too.
Yeah, but definitely DM me so that we're connected anyway. And I can't promise I'm going to get to that DM tonight, but I promise you I'll get to the DM.
All right. Before we go, just for the people that may not have been here when this started, let's just look at a piece of history that happened because nobody ever thought it was going to happen.
Newsstand for breaking this story. You can find him on Instagram. We have West Coast Davengers on YouTube. Shout out Comic Tim. I'll put links in the descriptions to all their.
The universes have collided. Comic Tom and Comic Tim may meet one day. I don't know what wheat is, but eat. Anyway.
All right.
All right. Look, big thank you to everybody that was here tonight.
Huge
thank you.
you.
Yeah. And a big thank you to you, Manu, for just, the relationship that we have.
Brother, thank you. And can we take a moment? Daniel says it's also his birthday. Oh, it's my birthday too.
Yeah.
Today. It
Fuck
is.
yeah,
Happy
Daniel.
birthday,
Happy
bro.
birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. That's amazing.
James Dorfler. Comic Tim is a character that appears on my channel. I'm not sure who he is. People say he looks like me. I might have a split personality, but he talks about top 10 lists. He's a wild guy. I'll send you a video and you can watch it about Comic Tim. And appreciate
Steve
you
Dog,
too,
thank
James.
you. Yeah, James, thank you for everything, man. And congrats again on that sale. Just appreciate you, man. We got to know each other really well this year and around really cool stuff. So that's awesome.
Hey, look, and I really appreciate seriously everybody coming out for this. This is and once again, if and when I do get Matt Nelson on the channel, we'll have a nice open discussion. We'll hear from him. Obviously a dialogue is super important, but actions will eternally speak louder than words. And I just want to say I appreciate everything that you guys have been here for and listened to us yammer on about this. And if we hear anything new, we'll post about it. We'll go live. We'll talk about it. I have a new video dropping this Sunday as always, and I'm back to selling next week. So if you want to buy some books from a trusted person, I can at least speak for the man that is right here. I will sell you some good books.
He will. Oh, Black Goo said he missed everything. Black Goo, I just gave away a Symbiote PSA 10. Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll do something else later. Thank you for being here. I hope you could watch the replay. Horvat says Manu's eyes got CGC to change. That's
what we're hoping.
That's pretty special, man. Thank you.
Good luck there, Meanster. I actually saw one of those books earlier this year. Oh yeah, Derek. Well, we'll talk about it. I love you, Derek. I love everybody. I appreciate this community. I fucking love comics. And
Dan, thank you, my man. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody and we'll see you soon. Sounds good, right?
We will see you all. It's sad that we're saying goodbye. Hold on one second. Manu, before all this was CGC following you on Insta. Yeah, CGC was. Are they not anymore? I will say something, and I don't blame them on that. The post that broke the news 2 weeks ago now. I tagged them. They were the only person I tagged in it. Right. They did remove their tag. Now that doesn't. They didn't. I wouldn't assume they removed their tag because like they didn't want anyone to know CGC is obviously a CGC book. I tagged them to get their attention because I am friendly in communication with them. but they probably untagged themselves because they were getting a lot of notifications. Because when you're tagged, you get pinged every time something happens.
Sure.
So I haven't tagged them in anything after that. But the reason for that is because, like I said, we have their attention. They are listening. Our voices are being heard. But they're obviously tagging them is great to do as well. And I don't know if they're still following me or not. But yes, prior to this, they were.
Well, all right. Well, look, there's more to talk about, I'm sure, along the way. But Happy New Year to everybody. And
Happy New Year.
this is going to probably be my last stream of the year. I don't think I'll be doing one on Sunday night, but if I decide to, you'll know by tomorrow. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy your New Year. Have a safe one. If you're going to drink, just chill on your couch and drink in your house or something. I don't know. Anyway, that'll be it for me and Manu. Peace out. Peace, love, happiness, and most of all, fucking read some comics, baby. Oh, yeah.